Knoxville, don't be late. Baker's Live, it's gonna be great. June 5th and 6th, mark your date at Dollywood. We'll celebrate. Meet Baker and more cool friends. Live show magic that never ends. Come to Dollywood, feel the vibe. With great people there, it's gonna be a ride. Rides, fun, and meet and greet. Baker and pals, the crew's so sweet. Get ready for laughs, cheers, and thrills. Knoxville's the place, it's giving chills. Meet Baker and more cool friends. Live show magic that never ends. Come to Dollywood, feel the vibe. With great people there, it's gonna be a ride. June 5th and 6th, don't miss the fun. Meet Baker and friends, it's second to none. Don't miss the fun. Meet Baker and friends, it's second to none.
Hey everyone, let's get into the Collin Griffith case and hope we can catch up. I'm going to run it at a higher speed because this is a slow case, but let's get to it.
All right, beginning with Tallman v. State. For the record, that's 120 Southern 3rd, 593. Tallman is spelled Tallman. And on page 1 and 2, it mentions that a juvenile does not have the right to exclude a parent from access or control over his or her personal belongings. To hold as such would undermine the inherent authority of a parent. The second case, State v. SV. And for the record, that is 758 Southern 2nd, 1253. Has a similar holding, including we hold that by virtue of his parental authority, the father's consent overrides the juvenile's objection. And then it talks about some of the rationale behind that, including a father has the responsibility and authority for the discipline, training, and control of his children. And the exercise of his parental authority, a father has full access to the room set aside for his son for purposes of fulfilling his right and duty to control his son's social behavior and obtain obedience. When a parent basically, the parent can, in the first case, can do as they see fit. The parent is exercising his or her parental authority and control over the unemancipated minor child. So I would submit that those two cases coincide with one of the court's inquiry regarding that subject matter, Your Honor, that would further support the finding that the text message, in conjunction with the attorney-client privilege law and argument and subject matter we discussed, that should be admissible.
And did you place the case names on the record yet?
Yes, sir.
You did. All right. Ms. Martin?
I have a response, as well as some cases, but I'll get to them if that's all right. First, I found no authority that talks about a parent's unlimited right to go through everything. I understand the cases that Mr. Levine cited in connection with the Fourth Amendment issue, but of course we're dealing with different issues slightly. So, parental rights assume that the parent is acting in the best interest of the child. And those rights change over time with the age of the child, right? So a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old, obviously a parent has much more control and much more ability and authority to intervene in their child's behavior, their belongings. As the child gets older, the child's rights increase in relation to their parents. At any rate, even if you find that this mother, Kathy Griffith, had the right to snoop or right to go through Collin's cell phone. I still have arguments that relate to his right under the Fifth Amendment and his Sixth Amendment and his privilege to communicate privately with his attorney. So first, the privilege is only waived if at the time the communication was made, Collin intended it to be disclosed. And you mentioned should he known or should have known that his mom might look. That's possible, but we still have to look at his intent and then what the mother did with her, I'm gonna call it snooping, looking. When we talk about people who are in jail, inmates, even though they have very restricted liberties and their right to privacy is severely curtailed, there is still a means by which they can communicate privately with their lawyer, right? So we have attorney booths at our jail that are private, are not monitored. So they have that ability to exercise their privilege. If an inmate makes a choice to call their attorney from the monitored line, say just call on the phone.
That's the argument I used yesterday. I'm so smart.
They are warned at the outset. This is being recorded and monitored. Anything you say is not private. And if they choose to use that phone, then shame on them and the privilege is waived. But the important thing is that they have a feasible option to exercise their confidentiality privilege. But what choice did Collin have? We talked about this. Could he have made a phone call? As you pointed out, there are surveillance cameras everywhere in the house that could have picked it up. Could he have gone to his attorney's office? He didn't drive, he didn't have a license. Could he have called his grandmother in another county? Possibly, but is that reasonable? A child has restricted agency by virtue of them being a child. He didn't have any other feasible options. And I don't think a child should have to give up a privilege because they are a child, which is essentially what the state's wanting you to find, is that unless the child can somehow on their own, or if their parent's not willing to cooperate, can get to their attorney's office and go inside the office without their parent, then they can't exercise their privilege. It's like putting the burden on the child to do something extra to preserve a privilege that other people have easier access to, which seems unfair. But in addition to that, Judge, I may have been wrong in how I deal with parents who want to be present in privileged conversations. Because the case law indicates that due to parental authority, but that also includes duty, because parents are close advisors, and it's natural that a child would seek advice from a parent, and that a parent would want to be involved to some extent in making sure that their child is represented adequately, also to facilitate the communications, driving the child to the office, providing the phone by which the child could call their attorney. There is a case that I found, nothing in Florida that's directly on point with this particular issue. It's Doe versus Town of Greenwich. It's 473 Federal Supplement 54. It's from the District of Connecticut from 2020. A brief rundown of the facts. Two minors had an interaction where the female alleged that the male had attacked her, had sexually assaulted her. It's not a criminal case. The girl's family, on her behalf, sued the Town of Greenwich, saying that they had not provided adequate supervision and investigated the criminal case adequately. So that's kind of neither here nor there. At any rate, the suit was between the girl and her family and the town. The girl's family, and it's unclear how they got these emails, but they obtained emails between the boy, now he was a non-party, but the boy and his lawyer, and the boy and his headmaster from his school that discussed what he had discussed with his lawyer. All right, so the kid himself actually disclosed to a third person, his headmaster, communications between him and his lawyer. And the federal district court held that even though the other side already had them, and even though the child had purposely, so very different than what we have here, purposely told somebody about those communications and shared them, that the attorney-client privilege still existed and that those communications were not admissible in court. So a couple things with this case. The court found, they talk about how minors are treated differently than adults out of the recognition that they do not always know, due to lack of maturity and moral experience, what it is they should be doing or not doing. And given the various protections afforded minors in the law, it seems particularly harsh to summarily find that Roe, the boy, waived his attorney-client privilege when he shared privileged communications with his headmaster. During the investigation, Roe, the boy, was 16 years old. There was an investigation into his behaviors that left him scared and anxious, and it's clear that he considered his headmaster to be a friend and source of guidance and support. It goes on to say that under the circumstances presented, the court concludes that Roe did not waive his attorney-client privilege by virtue of his disclosures to the headmaster. So it talks about the protection of children and their rights, given their unique positions as sort of subservient to adults in their life. I would argue that the headmaster is analogous to Kathy Griffith. It's not a completely on point analogy, but Collin communicating with his lawyer and knowing that his mom might find it doesn't excuse, and this is something that this case also discusses, doesn't excuse what the mom does with it later. And that's my second point. That's that, okay, so maybe you find she had an absolute right to look through his communications with his lawyer. Or maybe, as her duty as a parent, once she realized they were privileged communications, she has a duty to act in the best interest of the child and not go sharing those with other people. And certainly that shouldn't translate to, if she does make the bad decision to breach the attorney-client privilege, to allow it to be admissible in a court of law against her child. She also was the alleged victim in that particular case. So she bears some responsibility in doing what's best for Collin. I think she violated that duty by sending it on. And even though the cat's out of the bag now, I don't think that her maybe having a right to go through clearly privileged communications gives the state the right to use that in this criminal case. She was the parent has to act in the child's best interest, as I said. But even if you're engaging in some weighing of the rights and responsibilities and duties and the duty of a child to obey their parent, it doesn't wipe away the privilege that exists. I provided RLR 16570 from the 3rd District Court of Appeal in 2013.
You have not given that.
No, I gave it to you at the hearing.
Oh.
But I'll give it to you again. It basically talks about even if it would be in the best interest of the child to deem the privilege waived. In this case, it was for the protection of the child. It still means you can't violate the attorney-client privilege. Additionally, under Florida statute section 90.5021C2, talks about that disclosures to third persons who are necessary to the communication between the defendant and the lawyer, or between the client and the lawyer, are not waived from the privilege. So if you accept the state's position that mom had every right to do everything she wanted with her kid, but she is the only way, or the sole way, that can facilitate the communication between Collin and his lawyer, and she's the one who controls the phone, apparently, then even if she found the message rightfully, it still doesn't mean that it's waived. And she doesn't have the right to waive his privilege, even if she is in a position of authority over him. The privilege belongs to Collin. I'm almost done, I promise. Then we also, sort of as a logical argument or an overarching view, if you decide that Collin waived his attorney-client privilege by using a phone that his mother controlled and had the right to look into, if you take that to the logical extension of it, then how is a kid ever supposed to communicate privately with their lawyer unless their parent can facilitate it, in which case then they would never have the right because their parent would be the third person that was involved, which I think completely vitiates the purpose of the attorney-client privilege and should not be a rule.
Right, so Thornhill, I had essentially come to a very similar conclusion as yours, agreeing with you. First of all, recognizing I believe the law is clear that a parent has the absolute right to determine what extent the child will have privacy in that relationship. But I agree with you that there's an overarching duty of the parent to act in the child's best interest. And when a child is facing legal jeopardy, that would, and that's recognized across divisions of court, dependency court, family court, criminal court, a parent has a duty to act in the best interest of their child. And that's probably, in fact, why that absolute right of surveillance exists, so that you know what your child is getting into or is being exposed to, so that you can make the decisions about guiding that child, providing the appropriate services, and so forth. So the right and the responsibility go hand in hand. And I think that's something that we fail to recognize across the penumbra of rights that we have these days, that they come with responsibilities. So I agree fundamentally that a parent, when it comes to an evidentiary privilege, meaning those secrets that they find in the locked box being what would otherwise be subject to a claim of privilege, that parent has a duty to act in the child's best interest with respect to those secrets, even when the parent is at odds with the child with respect to those secrets. Now, that's not to say I don't believe the parent cannot act on those secrets. For instance, call law enforcement, separate herself from the child, even initiate a Baker Act, file criminal charges. But what I have a hard time with is that once that child is sitting here in front of a judge and a jury, whether that circumstance could ever operate to waive the claim of privilege when it is just the parent who it was exposed to.
We're just catching up on the Collin Griffith trial. They are discussing if his privilege, his privileged conversations with his lawyer is privileged.
But Mr. Levine presented me this case, and I need you to tell me how it's different, because although it's a Fourth Amendment case, that evidence would have been suppressed. Otherwise, that evidence would have been suppressed if the parent did not have a right to consent to a waiver of an important constitutional right, which is to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures and have that evidence used against you in court. How is this different? Because in essence, it's sort of the same. And that's the law in Florida. A parent can consent to the search of a child's bedroom, and that had not even crossed my mind during our discussion. So what is the difference here? It's evidence being used against a child in court. One, it's okay. And one, you're saying, and I initially, through my thought process overnight, agree. But what do we do with that case?
I think that those situations are distinguishable because the government is acting, right? Your Fourth Amendment right is against the government from engaging in unreasonable searches and seizures. And when the government comes and says, I want to search your kid's room, the parent, as the parent with rights and responsibilities, and maybe not knowing what's in the room, because if the parent had snooped and known what was in the room, then they would have a duty to do with it what they thought was best for their child, right? But here we're dealing with a government actor intruding on a private place that the parent pays for, that the kid is has some duties towards the parent too. And the parent can say, all right, government, come into my house and search, right? That's very different than a mother who on her own has the duty to protect her child, the duty to act in the child's best interest, who goes looking through their private communications and then shares it with people, okay? It's another thing. Even if Collin knew his mom was going to look at it, if she's facilitating the communications, that doesn't mean he intended it to be disclosed to everyone and be used against him. So I think that because the government wasn't acting at the time here, and mom took it upon herself to totally destroy his attorney-client privilege by sending it to Susan, and then Susan, maybe by accident or not knowing the implications, then turned her phone over to law enforcement. I think that's too many steps removed from a government actor coming to a home that the parent owns and controls and says,
Jamie doesn't want to be here. She's it's after lunch. Jamie's sleeping.
can we search your kid's room?
So what about the circumstance where the state issues an investigative subpoena to mom and says, tell me what's in that phone, and the mom willingly complies? How is that different? And says, yeah, his phone said he was going to stab me in the neck to his lawyer.
But if the police finds communications with the lawyer, they're not allowed to check into that.
I still think it would be privileged.
But how is it different? They're both essentially at their core evidentiary privileges. I mean, I think unreasonable search and seizure is broader and has protects individuals' privacy as well, but it also is subject to the rule of exclusion if there is an unreasonable search and seizure. So at its core, it's an evidentiary.
Well, we're also dealing with something a little bit different in that we're dealing with a privilege of confidentiality, which is different than living in your bedroom, right? So for instance, with the psychotherapy patient privilege, a parent can't waive that on behalf of their child, even if they know what happens in those therapy sessions, because it's the child's right to confidentiality in certain things. And there are very few
So it's
privileges.
because the child doesn't own the bedroom, that it's different, is what you're saying?
No,
Because
not
it's
entirely.
the parent's right to determine who has access to what they own.
No, the law doesn't provide a child an absolute privilege like it does in their bedroom, like it does between a lawyer and the child as a client. We have to start from that place where a government actor is trying to find something. We're dealing with the privilege exists. Very few privileges exist that keep things completely confidential. This is one of them.
And so, Mr. Levine, you have a response to that, that consent to search a bedroom is different than consent to give up confidential attorney-client communications.
Yes, it's not, Your Honor. I mean, both are evidentiary issues at their core because ultimately the state is trying to use evidence, however it was obtained, and I submit that it was obtained lawfully. What Kathy did was not illegal or diabolical. It was Susan Detman, which I think is beside the point, but nonetheless, it was Susan Detman who consented to giving her phone and that information to law enforcement. It wasn't like Kathy, who would have been within her right to go to law enforcement and say, look at this, my son is saying he's going to stab me in the neck, and he's already killed his dad in Oklahoma. And the only reason I say that is because obviously the jury's not here. So it's not like,
I remember I didn't say she couldn't use it, like for purposes of protecting herself, getting him services, whatever it may be. I didn't say she couldn't use attorney-client communications for other purposes. The issue is whether that means she
It hurts me to look at his curvature of the spine.
can consent to waive the confidential nature of the communication in a court of law.
nobody's waiving the communication for him.
Well, that's essentially what I would be doing. It's saying because a parent's absolute right to surveil their child exists, that every child knows or should have known their parent can find it, and thus it's waived.
No, I don't think it's that broad, John. But in terms of the admissibility, there's reasons and court findings, including some of the cases I gave you the general topic matter, where the attorney-client privilege, the evidence comes in court. If it was such an absolute right, then there wouldn't be any case law, and there wouldn't be instances where a court has the discretion to allow it in. So this is not earth-shattering or groundbreaking if Your Honor lets it in terms of it happens under certain circumstances. The circumstances being such as the case law and the issues that Your Honor is weighing. But in terms of whether it's the attorney-client privilege or it's the right for unreasonable searches and seizures, at the heart of it is the court being the gatekeeper. Both are governmental action. It's no different because the ultimate thing that could be helpful to the prosecution of a case or hurtful in terms of evidence against the defense is if that evidence comes into court. So both are evidentiary issues. They're not these different things. The end result is the same. The state is acting. The state is trying to get both evidence in, whether the question is suppression from a legal search and seizure or suppression because of a legitimate attorney-client privilege protected statement, which I've mentioned many reasons why it's not. So the end result is the same. The court has to determine, should it be admissible or should it not? Was it unreasonable search and seizure? Was it legitimate attorney-client privilege? And based upon the case law and the inquiry about should the defendant have known or reason to known that his mom was going to see it, and was the statement when he made, was he thinking it was attorney-client privilege? Obviously, he could simply walk outside and take one of his walks that he so much loved to do, make a phone call, we wouldn't be here. When he made that statement too, he wasn't thinking about it being protected or not being protected. He was just saying it. So at the risk of repeating everything I've been saying, I have nothing else to say.
Anything else, Ms. Lawrence?
No, sir, I think you understand our position.
I think the difference lies in the fact that the law has said a parent can consent to the search of a bedroom of a child, and the child has no exclusionary claim under the Fourth Amendment for not consenting himself. When we're talking about the attorney-client privilege, I have not seen a case, and you have not presented one to me that says point blank a parent can give up a child's attorney-client communications to law enforcement. And that right has always been personal to the client. And unless the court decides otherwise, that it's personal to the individual, I don't think this case is analogous. And finding that a parent's absolute right to surveil their child serves as a tool for their responsibility to act in the best interest of the child, in this case, and under these circumstances, means that when it is just the parent who the child might have reason to believe will see what's in the phone, there could be circumstances where this wouldn't apply. If he knows that he's sharing communications in an environment that others are going to be aware of that don't have a duty to protect him, that's a different story. But even when a child's interests, legal interests, a child in legal jeopardy, even when those interests are contrary to the parent's personal interests, that doesn't vitiate the parent's duty to act in that child's best interest. And I think we see that in court downstairs in dependency when the parent is the victim of a domestic violence incident, for instance, in juvenile court. The parent still has a duty under those circumstances. It doesn't vitiate that responsibility. So that being said, I do not find that in this case, even though Mr. Griffith knew or should have known his mom was going to look through his phone, that in and of itself, with respect to her and her alone, in any way would have waived the confidential nature of the communication. Again, finding that the state, while the actual communication itself was unusual, eerie, it was also apparently in the context of some discussion about self-defense, and there were no other facts elicited at the hearing, no other context provided where I could say that the crime fraud exception applies. So in that respect, I'm going to exclude it.
Judge, if I could inquire, and of course I respect the court's ruling, could I just inquire, is it also your finding that when the defendant made that text to Jeffrey Rapkin, that he intended at the time he made it, that it be privileged and a confidential attorney-client privilege, as opposed to now he wants to keep it out because it's going to hurt him?
Mr. Levine, you keep saying a person has to say in their head, oh, I'm typing this message. It is attorney-client privilege. I don't think that's the thought process someone has to go through.
Why are we handling stupid prosecutors all day today? This should have been thrown out already yesterday, because it's a client counsel privilege, and you can't waive that just because your parent could have looked on the phone. I really don't like this guy. This is ridiculous that they even would try and break the Fourth Amendment. It's stupid. Of course, it's still privileged. If he had been in prison when the DV case happened, called his lawyer and said, "Yeah, I really wanna next time I'm gonna self-defense her to death," and someone had heard it, it'll still be privileged unless he had done it knowingly in a room where it would have been heard by others. It's stupid.
I think the thought process is, I'm sending this to my lawyer and my lawyer alone. I'm not sharing it with anyone. And especially when we're talking about a child, that the law should not require that child to even understand that the attorney-client privilege exists, per se, word for word. I mean, the child's right to confidential communications with their lawyer, when the communication itself indicates that it's about seeking advice from a lawyer currently accused of a crime, that burden should not be placed on a child to have to make that mental connection. And I'm not even certain anyone goes through that particular process in their mind when they're talking with their lawyer. So I'm not going to answer your question because I don't think it's necessary under the circumstances. All right. Anything else we need to pick up before the jury comes in?
Can I make a call downstairs to tell my assistant that Jeffrey Rackin will not be needed for these proceedings? He was waiting on standby should the court rule that it was missing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Boom, 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 boom. We can skip a lot today. That's nice. No, you're getting it totally wrong. He is saying that you shouldn't be conscious saying, well, I could possibly at some point maybe have my phone looked into, and I must assert that this is privileged information. That's what the prosecutor was stating, that everyone who wants to call on privileged information should knowingly, willingly, and affirmatively signal that you don't want this used against you in a court of law, which is stupid because it's your lawyer. Your lawyer needs to shut up. Excluded, yes. No, you didn't. You were in Valhalla's chat.
Mr. Griffith, did you just have a discussion with your lawyers about the stipulation?
I did, Your Honor.
Did they explain to you what the purpose of agreeing to that stipulation was?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did they give you some advice on what they thought about stipulating to it and why you should stipulate to it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did they answer any questions you had about it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Address all your concerns?
Yes, Your Honor.
The dad, we don't know. The mom, allegedly, they had a rough relationship.
And do you agree with their proposal to stipulate to these particular facts?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And you understand the pros and cons of stipulating to those facts?
I do.
All right. Do you have any questions of me about the stipulation?
No, Your Honor.
And has anyone promised you anything or threatened you?
Because his argument, well, his mom could waive his constitutional rights, just like if she had turned over to a police officer. No, because a police officer, the second he sees a lawyer communication, he has to put the phone down and say, there's privileged information on this phone.
To get you to stipulate to these facts?
No, Your Honor.
Including your lawyers?
No.
Not look for news
And you're not currently under the influence of anything, are you?
no ad
Medications today, correct?
having pitch.
All right. And you're satisfied with the advice and counsel you've received from your lawyers on whether or not you should stipulate to these facts?
I am.
And you understand the jury will be told, these facts are proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Essentially, they don't need any other proof of those facts, and they must accept these facts as true. You understand that?
I do, Your Honor.
And of course, it's for them to decide what to do with those facts and how significant they are. But I will be telling them they have to consider it. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else you want on the record?
Yes, sir. Fair, Your Honor.
All right. I find that your choice to enter into this stipulation is freely, knowingly. All right.
I'm happy that you were doing can read because
Apologize for the delay. I assure you, we have all been here at the appointed time working to resolve a legal issue that has arisen in this case. That has been resolved, and we are ready to proceed. I want to advise you.
he tried to run away multiple times, but CPS kept putting him in the home, and the mom kept demanding him to come home. This happened at his grandma's house where he was living, and she wanted him to come back from.
That when parties and lawyers agree that certain facts are true, that is called a stipulation of fact. Now, you must accept stipulated facts as having been proven. However, the significance of these facts, as with all facts, is for you to decide. In this case, the stipulated facts you must accept as true are as follows. 1, Catherine Griffith is dead. 2, John Robida, Senior Crime Laboratory Analyst, and let me stop you for a moment. I see you writing furiously. This is going to become part of your final instructions, and you will receive a written version of these instructions, and this will be in there word for word. 2, John Robida, Senior Crime Laboratory Analyst in the Biology Section at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, performed DNA analysis on fingernail swabbings from Catherine Griffith's right hand and left hand. No DNA results foreign to Catherine Griffith were obtained from the right hand fingernail swabbings from Catherine Griffith. No DNA results foreign to Catherine Griffith were obtained from the left hand fingernail swabbings from Catherine Griffith. Mr. Levine?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Dr. Gavel.
He didn't really fight back. Didn't they say he had scratches on his forearms?
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the record?
My full name is Dr. David Fintan, Fintan, Garvan, G for golf, A-R-A, V for Victor, A-M.
Tell the jury about your profession.
So I'm currently working in District 10, which is this area, as a medical examiner. A medical examiner is a forensic pathologist. There's Dublin med that in including forensic pathologist. I took 10, contribute for Polk County and look at have to undergo after. A forensic pathologist will have done the either on their own or in combination with injury that may cause death or the cause of death will be not. It means that death has done something or met. So there are no coroners in Florida. Florida is one of the progressive states. We deal with just medical examiners who are highly trained professional medical doctors who review or are involved in making the decisions for jurisdiction. They're not understood. Or drugs
I'm just
may have been involved.
through
That would fall under our jurisdiction.
Credentials.
So there, if there's issues, just picture an examination will involve looking at you from top to toe. When we will then pull all that information together. 10 hours.
Of a deceased individual sounds pretty obvious, but how do you do the internal examination?
The internal examination is it's an intrusive procedure.
Now, in this particular case, the death happened on a Sunday, September 8th. Describe to the jury the process by which you receive the body and when you typically conduct an autopsy.
So the only reason why this case is with me is because that was my week. There's no other reason. We work on rotations. So I would have first met this case on Monday morning. I would not necessarily have heard about it on the Sunday. I don't remember, to be honest with you. I just don't. So when I went in on Monday morning, her name plus other names were on that list that morning, and that's the first time I would get to read the police report to find out that's the beginning of the narrative. In all homicide cases, police do attend those cases. So that's where I would have got my information.
Do you work for the state attorney's office? Do you work for me?
I do not.
Do you work for law enforcement?
I do not.
Who do you work for?
I work for the public.
All right, Dr. Gavel, the autopsy that you performed on Catherine Griffith, describe to the jury a little bit about the room or operating location where you do your autopsy.
So our autopsy suite is it's a custom built place. It's a big clean room specification. So,
Yeah, Griffith stuff.
do you want me to go through all of them in detail or just a summary?
First, we can start with a summary.
So the autopsy findings: sharp force injury to the right side of the neck, bruising to her lower limbs, bruising to the posterior right shoulder, left elbow, back of both hands. There was an incised wound, and I'm going to explain the difference between an incised wound and an injury to.
First, we can start with a summary.
So the autopsy findings: sharp force injury to the right side of the neck, bruising to her lower limbs, bruising to the posterior right shoulder, left elbow, back of both hands. There was an incised wound, and I'm going to explain the difference between an incised wound and a stab wound in a second, between her thumb and index finger of the right hand. So here, there's an incised wound that was 1.5 centimeters. It was gaping if you open the hand to 1 centimeter. A stab wound is a wound that is deeper than it is longer on the surface. An incised wound is a sharp force injury as well. That's longer on the surface than it is deeper. They're the opposite. So in an incised wound, the sharp blade or the sharp surface has come across the skin,
Why?
but has not gone deep into it.
I can
A stab
understand
wound
it.
is the opposite. It's penetrated and
I thought
gone
all you
into
people
the actual tissue.
spoke English.
Was that gaping incised wound, was that a fresh wound?
Yes,
And describe to the jury why that is.
Yeah, this is the ME.
because it's there's no evidence of healing. It's gaping, it's opened, and they have dry blood in it.
Now, is that gaping incised wound consistent with being a defensive wound?
It's possible that defensive wounds are. So that's a term that's used, and I know it's thrown around a lot. We personally don't write down classic for defensive wound because we don't know precisely what the circumstances of it happened. But let me explain what the greater points of a defensive wound are. Defensive wounds is a term that's used when there's a series of injuries that can be bruises, can be incised wounds, it can be any other cuts or abrasions that are present on certain locations. And the reason why there's certain locations is that you have to understand that fundamentally the human will or the human
Stabulation to the neck, cut on the inside of the hand, bruises, underarms, hands, back on the right shoulder.
body is designed to survive. Everything about us when we're under attack, when we're in a fight or flight situation, regardless of the circumstance, that if the human person is conscious enough to understand that they're in a struggle for their life for whatever reason, they will engage in activities which will try to help them survive. If you're under attack from an assailant, it is quite typical if the person is swinging something at you, baseball bat, fist, whatever, you will tend to try and protect yourself. And in doing so, certain parts of your body become exposed to that force that's coming at you as you try to defend yourself. In the arms is typically here. If it's a bat or a stick or something that's coming at you, they may also be on the legs. Typically, if and it's more common in women if they're being attacked, but it happens in men too. They will tend to offer the outside of the leg as they're trying to protect their sexual organs or they're trying to protect themselves if they're under attack. So we will often find wounds on the outside of the legs, not the inside. In knife injuries, when someone is under attack, where there's a knife or a sharp implement involved, it's common that the person, unfortunately, mistakenly, will try to grab that knife thinking that this is somehow going to be of help to them. It isn't really generally, but in doing so, if they grab that blade and then that blade is pulled, you'll often find incised wounds across the palm of the hand, or it can be here, depending on how the knife is grabbed. Or it could very well be that as a hand goes up
It
to
was the right hand.
defend against the oncoming blade, that blade just comes through here and then cuts as it comes through. Because I don't know specifically, we don't have a video of how exactly those injuries occurred. We tend not to use that term, defensive injuries, but that is what's meant by them. The presence in certain locations under certain circumstances that may indicate that the person who's now deceased was
That
trying
will
to
help.
defend themselves at the time of the assault.
Now, you mentioned that Kathy had bruises on her upper and lower limbs. Does that mean arms and legs?
Yeah, so again, I know it seems a bit impersonal, but we say the lower limbs and the upper limbs because we're talking about the whole arm. When we want to talk more specifically, we tend to use the anatomical location, whether or not it's the anterior elbow.
No, they won the war. Leonardo DiCaprio beat, what was it? The Hung Rabbit beat the Americans or whatever it was in 5 points.
Or the posterior forearm
Awesome.
or whatever.
Okay
The
movie.
upper limb is the entire limb from here to the fingers.
What were you able to determine about the bruises on Kathy regarding whether they were old
He was shot twice.
bruises or new bruises or a combination?
Yeah, so so dating of bruises is not it's not an exact science. We do not TV shows I know do that all the time. That's not reality. What I can say is that these bruises there were quite a number of them present. All we can say about bruises is that if the color yellow is present, we can say that it's definitely not. There wasn't an immediate before death bruise because yellow would suggest that at least 15, 16, 17 hours has passed since that bruise was present. It could be weeks, but at least 17 or 18 hours has passed. That's the best we can do in reality. But all these bruises in this particular case did look fresh in that there was no color change. It doesn't look like they had gone or had the opportunity. The person wasn't alive long enough for the body to try and heal or start healing a bruise. So that's the best I can say to you.
Dr. Gavel, before we get to the photographs, how can you describe Kathy's neck wound to the right side of her neck?
So the wound on the right side of the neck is a large stab wound. It's gaping, and gaping means that it's an obvious. Once you see it, it can't be anything else. It's an open wound. It was 4.3 centimeters long and 1 centimeter apart. It's 2.5 centimeters right off the midline, so approximately here, and 23 centimeters from the top of her head. So we do that just to give you an anatomical location. So approximately here on her neck is what it was. The wound is in the 9 to 3 o'clock orientation, meaning that if you look at a clock, 9 to 3 means it's kind of looking straight when the body's in the right. So it's coming straight across here. And there's a square edge to the 9 o'clock margin. That's important because the square edge suggests to me that it's a single blade, not a double blade. That is the knife or the blade that's been used. Because so there are characteristics of a knife wound which help us determine if it's a single blade or a double blade. And in this case, in this case, it would suggest the blade was single bladed. So the wound then goes into the neck. It travels from a front to back, so it's coming in from the front.
It was a self-defense. He's not been charged or found guilty.
And heading towards the back. It's traveling right to left, and in doing so, and it has gone through. So the esophagus, the food pipe, has gone through the trachea, the windpipe, and it's just above the vocal cord. So it's transected the trachea.
The right side.
Right across, and the food pipe. And the blade continues so that the top of the blade came out the other side. So there's a small sharp force injury on this side. It's 0.6 by 0.2, so quite small, but it shows that the tip of the blade met it all the way across and poked out the side.
What
That's
type
pretty
of force
big.
is necessary for the knife not to just enter the body, but to do all that traveling that you mentioned and actually go out the other side of her neck?
You know, we often get asked this question. In fact, we always get asked this question: how much force is required? We don't know, right? We don't have the ability to be there to measure newtons, pounds per square inch, or whatever. But what we can tell you is that one of the major qualities, the most influential quality of how easy and
No, it was a straight across wound that poked out on the other side of the neck. So more like I understand it as a through and through. This guy knows all the good male bathhouses, and I think there's a lot of those in Florida.
knife will penetrate the human body is the tip of the knife. The tip of the knife, once it punctures or penetrates the human skin, it's relatively easy for the knife to then enter because our organs and our tissue they don't offer much resistance. So I can't tell you how much force was used, but I can tell you it can be surprisingly not as much required as you might think. However, in this case, it's gone through the trachea. The trachea is a tougher organ or tissue. It's got cartilage in it, so it would require the application of some pressure for it to continue to the other side. But I can't tell you in pounds per square inch how much that pressure is.
Now, have you had the opportunity to conduct autopsies on multiple stab wound victims over your years?
I've done many hundreds.
And do you see any consistencies amongst those in terms of the nature of the injury or the cause of the injury?
Well, I've seen all kinds of homicides. I've seen suicides. I don't believe I've come across any accidents, but I've seen suicides. Certainly, people have used knives to take their own life, but the vast majority would be homicides.
All right, so the vast majority are homicides. You've seen some suicides, but no accidents, correct?
Not to my knowledge, no.
All right, Dr. Garabin, I'm going to show you some photographs, and hopefully it shows up on your screen. And if I have some questions about them, of course, I'll be asking you some questions. So, starting with 126, is this how the body comes to you?
Yes.
127, 128. During your autopsy, were you able to determine the victim's weight and height?
Yes.
What were those stats?
She was 5'2" and 126 pounds.
6'6" stood on the ground.
Is that a picture of the stab wound?
Yes, as the body arrived before it's cleaned, yes. That's the same wound after it's been cleaned.
Now, you mentioned the gaping wound and the definition being wide open. What is it that we're actually seeing once you get past into the hole there?
You look at the internal structures of the neck. So the head is back, so it obviously pulls out to make it gape more, but there are other reasons. There's a lot more details to it. So there are things called the lines of Langerhans. When you're all young and pretty, of course, you won't know about these lines of Langerhans because your skin is nice and tight and there's no wrinkles. But as you get older, the lines of Langerhans begin to take over. And they are a natural tension line that's present in all our skin. And if we cut across the lines of Langerhans, you may be familiar with the grain of meat, then the wound are gaping. But if we cut in the same direction of the lines, which surgeons will always try and do, because then the scar will be a lot less obvious. In the neck, they are roughly coming down the neck in a straight line. So this wound is going to cross them. So those lines are now apart, and that makes it gape more than if the wound was the other direction, between 12 and 1/6.
So in this picture,
I would like you to.
What is a homicide? It's when a man takes what?
No, if you need it, that mouse over there operates as a pointer.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Actually, I didn't know that, but thank you.
could you please point with the mouse and the red arrow? Where's the visible organ within her neck?
So in here, you can see that there's a structure present here. This is probably part of the larynx, probably part of it, but clearly it's a gaping wound, and you can see that there is a structure inside here. I think it's part of the larynx from looking straight in, but I'm not entirely sure. That's part of where the voice box or the larynx has been transected, so it's cut open. That should be a whole piece. It shouldn't be separated like that.
Now, in order for the end result to be the death, what happens physiologically after that knife does all that damage?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. So the human neck is extremely vulnerable. It's probably the most vulnerable part of our body. So once a knife goes in, not only are there your windpipe, your food pipe, there's also a lot of arteries which conduct a lot of blood, but there are also several nerves that are traveling through the neck, the vagus nerve, the phrenic nerve, and so on, and they're coming down. If you transect them, there's immediate implications, clearly. The vagus nerve supplies the heart, and the phrenic nerve supplies the diaphragm, to which you need to breathe. It has to have that bellow effect. So if they're transected, then they're not available to you anymore. So you have a combination of bleeding and severing of nerves combined will bring a rapid death.
Is the bleeding both external and internal?
I would expect this to be a bloody scene, yes.
132. Is there any different parts of the organ visible in this picture?
No.
All right, now we continue 133. What's that there?
So that's the exit of the tip of the knife. So the tip of the knife has come all the way across the neck and has poked out here.
Is that a close-up of the exit wound?
Yes.
Now, there's a metal rod there. Describe to us what you were doing here.
So in all gunshot wounds and in stab wounds where possible, we will put in probes to show the direction that the wound is traveling in. So in this case, it's traveling right to left, upwards, front to back, and that probe is following the path, the same path that the knife followed.
What can you tell us about 137, Dr. Garvin?
So this is the internal examination. I've taken out the neck structures. You are looking at the neck from behind. So here is the epiglottis. This is the tongue. And this is the esophagus that's open, and the trachea is underneath it. It will be, this is the epiglottis. This is the posterior surface of the larynx. And here the blade has gone through the upper part of the esophagus, as I'm pointing out there. So this fold and this fold connect. So
Yeah, you couldn't have saved her with injuries like that, because he took both the arteries and the windpipe. There's no way that you can fix her.
this would be a tube. The lumen here is your food pipe. I've opened it to show you, sir. Perforated, I should say, the esophagus.
138, what do we begin to see here?
So this is the right hand, and you can see there's a bruise here, and it's not well shown in this picture, but this is where the incised wound between the thumb and the index finger is. There's some bruising down here also at the bottom. This is the index, this is the thumb and the index finger of the right hand, and this is that incised wound that I talked about. But it is longer on the surface than it is penetrating, and it's from a sharp force injury, I suspect, from a blade.
Going back to, you mentioned the bruising. So due to the color of that bruising, does that coincide with what you were saying are more fresh bruises on Kathy?
Yeah, these do not look as if they have had time to heal or undergo the healing process.
All right, what can you tell us about 141, Doctor?
This is her left upper arm, and there's some bruising here, there's some bruising on the elbows. These are abrasions, but they are not injuries. These are post-mortem. There are differences. They happen after death, and it's got to do with many other things, but they're commonly often misinterpreted as injuries. They are not, due to their yellow parchment-like color. And I understand, I can appreciate if you don't see it, but there are actually small veins running through the bottom there, and that's quintessential of post-mortem, not an injury. But there are injuries, and the injuries are here, the elbow, and up here on just at the biceps, and down here.
Continue on with the close-up, and we continue with some additional photos. Now we have 143. What appears to be on the wrist area and the hand?
Yeah, so this is the left, it looks like the left upper arm, so there's that bicep bruise, and this is heavy enough bruising present on the posterior wrist and hand. Some small bruising here also.
Is there another view of it, different angle?
Yeah, and there's also just another bruise there on the back of the little finger. That's the left hand also on the left arm, and there's some bruising here.
Can bruising be caused by if somebody grabs somebody real tightly?
Bruises, by definition, I mean, it's better to just go with the definition and then you can work it out thereafter. So in our forensic pathology, a bruise is where blood has escaped into the soft tissue due to blunt force trauma, not due to a sharp force injury, not due to a bullet wound. It's due to blunt force trauma. What the blunt force trauma is can be a whole range of things. It could be grabbing, it could be punching, it could be falling, it could be kicking, but it's blunt force trauma.
All right, thank you. What do we see here?
This is the other arm. That's the right arm. There's a bruise across the triceps here. Right elbow, more bruising. Back of the right hand. I think that's the right hand, it is, yeah. There's some bruising there on the back of it. And up here on the back of the index finger of the right hand. That's a small abrasion, minor abrasion on the right shin by the look. Yes, the right shin. You can see bruising here at the back of the left. This is the left calf. There's some bruising here on the anterior shin. Here. This is an abrasion along here. So an abrasion is just for your definition. So bruising is the escape of blood into surrounding tissue. An abrasion is due to blunt force trauma, but it's confined to the epidermis. So the outer layer of skin is the epidermis. So as something rubs across that for whatever reason, blunt force comes across the skin and pulls or rips or tears that epidermis, that's an abrasion. Okay, and they're only due to blunt force trauma typically.
And the last few photographs, Doctor.
This is an abrasion, but I suspect that's post-mortem. I would not probably call that an injury. That's an injury. That's an abrasion. That's a skipped-like abrasion, incomplete abrasion. So something, whatever has caused this, either it has skipped along the skin or it itself was not fully in contact with the skin as it was rubbed across the skin, causing the abrasion. Bruising is present on the forearm, here, and here.
Now, from your conducting the autopsy and your training experience, what was the cause of death?
So the cause of death is stab wound of the right neck.
And what was the manner of death?
In this case, the manner of death is homicide.
And when you say the manner of death is homicide, what does that mean?
So with the information that would have been provided to me at the time, and with the examination and what I've viewed and witnessed and reviewed, the explanation for this death is that this wound was inflicted by another person.
So it's a fair statement that it is not consistent with somebody accidentally falling on a knife?
I haven't been given that explanation before, but I think that would be rather extraordinary. No, I don't believe so.
So your end result was that the manner of death was a homicide, a killing caused by somebody else, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Garavan, I have no further questions.
Cross?
Good morning, Doctor.
Morning.
That was fast. My daughter couldn't even speak that
Dr.
fast.
Garavan, I want to talk about injuries that can result from mutual combat or a fight where two people are mutually involved in a struggle, whatever. They can be very messy, correct?
Well, I suppose mutual combat, mortal combat could very well be messy depending on circumstance. Yes.
Well, if any two people, regardless of size, strength, etc., are involved in a fight, both can receive injuries, correct?
Yes.
And both can receive what you termed defensive wounds, even though that's not a term of art, it's sort of a vague term.
Yes.
You would agree that both could receive those types of wounds.
Yes.
And you would agree that both could also suffer offensive wounds in such mutual combat.
Yes.
And even if somebody suffers a wound that ends up leading to their death, you don't know from your evaluation what happened leading up to that wound, correct?
So depending on the information provided by police, so I am given some information, but it depends in each case. Sometimes we know nothing, but in this case I knew something.
Right, and the information that you get from police is their interpretation of things, correct?
Yeah, I rely upon them. I'm that's how it works. I rely on the information they give me. Yes, that's correct.
And so if they don't give you all of the information that they have, then you might be lacking some critical piece of information in making your determination.
I'd be very disappointed if that happened, but yes, you are technically correct if I'm not given all the information.
Do you also look at media accounts of what allegedly occurred?
I do not watch the news. I have no media, I have no social media. God, no, I have better things to do with my time.
So this is a weird question then. Why does the medical examiner's file in this case contain multiple media reports?
The secretaries in the office will do that as part of the thing, but I only saw them yesterday for the first time, and I don't read them, but it's common practice around the world. I've been in other offices, people do that, but it's nothing got to do with me.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Yeah.
But basically, you cannot say what happened in the kitchen where Catherine Griffith suffered this wound, can you?
Well, I can certainly say that she suffered a fatal stab wound or has suffered fatal injuries, and based on the information provided to me at the time, that the most likely determination, excuse me, is that she's died from the action of another person, therefore a homicide.
But you can't say, for example, whether Catherine Griffith attacked the other person with a knife first, right?
No.
Um,
Wasn't she coming at him with a gun?
and you don't know how everybody was positioned or whether there was a struggle over the knife or anything like that.
Not in this case. Sometimes we do, but not in this case. I did not have that detail of information.
Speaking about the bruises that you've shown the jury, those could be up to several days old, couldn't they?
So dating a bruise is tricky. There's no argument there. But in this case, I wouldn't say days, but could they have been present a couple of hours before the incident? I can't tell you.
Okay. And bruises such as we saw on the photos could happen from somebody bumping into something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people can bruise very easily. You always get a bit concerned when there's a lot of them, and there are a lot of them. And I wasn't provided with an explanation other than a confrontation that might provide an explanation for them.
What about from doing innocuous activities like housework or things like that?
Also, yeah, it's entirely possible. And again, you would take that into account if it's as you are now, and that's perfectly fine. And yes, people can get bruises doing innocuous things. But the thing about innocuous things is that they tend to be very few bruises. They tend to be confined to one particular place, depending on what they were doing. And in this case, there's a lot of bruises, and they're in a lot of locations. So if you can give me the innocuous thing they were doing, I would consider it. But otherwise, for me, it more likely than not would be better explained being received during a confrontation.
A confrontation that could have been mutual combat.
Yeah, absolutely. A violent confrontation for whatever reason.
Can you say whether somebody who has rheumatoid arthritis might bruise more easily than someone who doesn't?
It's not something I'm aware of as being a thing. But if they're taking if they're on a lot of steroids as part of the treatment, people on steroids do bruise easier.
Was there any way for you to determine whether Catherine
What?
Griffith was
Again?
taking steroids for rheumatoid arthritis?
So wasn't aware that she was taking steroids, wasn't asked about that. And even if it was, the test for steroids is extraordinarily difficult. There are very few places in the world that do it. And even if you do it and you find steroids is present and you know she's taking it, I haven't proved anything. So if somebody tells me she's taking it, that's fine. But I wasn't told that.
Right, and I'm not suggesting that that's something that you normally would have
Couldn't
been
tell she had
aware of,
rheumatoid
given the fact that the
arthritis
autopsy
when you
happened the
looked
day
at the
after she
body?
died, and you spoke with law enforcement, not family members, right?
Correct.
Right. I'm just asking about that possibility.
Sure. Yeah.
In your training and experience, have you ever observed bruises that are clearly made from, say, a hand or fingers?
Yes.
So if somebody's grabbing somebody's arm,
Yes.
like I'm showing, so fingers around the arm, you would expect to see bruising that resembles the shape of the fingers.
It can do. They have a name. They're called discoid bruises, meaning it looks like the pads of your finger. It can happen, and certainly I have seen them, particularly in young women that have died by strangulation. You can see, not in every case, but you can see the hallmarks of what look like fingertips or somebody was grabbed by the neck by their fingers. It's all
Everyone, press X in chat to say goodbye to Brandon. Jamie on alive, Brandon. It's a tough day. Oh, hi, Jamie.
Hi.
But we have thanked Brandon now.
also possible that if a person is strong enough and the other person is small enough, you can get similar discoid-like bruises. There's nothing about the bruise that screams at you, this is a fingertip. But what you can do is that if somebody says, could that be a fingertip? Then you can say, yes, that could be a fingertip.
Did you notice any of those types of bruises on Catherine Griffith?
Nothing that would have jumped out at me as specifically that.
You've mentioned that the neck is a particularly vulnerable spot on the human body. There was no bone involved in this stab wound, was there?
It did not go through the cervical spine, no.
Okay, so it went through soft tissue, basically.
Soft tissue and trachea, which is cartilage. It's a little firmer, but yeah, it's not a whole lot, but it's a little firmer.
And so far as you know, there was no clothing or any object over the Catherine Griffith's neck to also provide, say, a layer of protection beyond her own skin.
I'm not aware if there was. Yeah, I didn't see any. I wasn't told about it.
You mentioned that the cartilage is a little bit tougher than some of the other soft tissue that the knife went through. And maybe this is crazy, but explain what a tracheotomy is.
So tracheotomy, you're talking about in emergency situations, not trying to be facetious, but a cricot-tracheotomy, tracheotomy. If you're in an emergency situation, the person's airway is compromised for whatever reason, a crushing injury or something is blocking the airway, and you need to get air into the airway, so you bypass the blockage. So you find the Adam's apple,
Which is the trachea, right?
which is the voice box, is the front of the voice box, more prominent in males and females. But then you come down approximately one finger, but as you go up there, you feel a little dip. It's very subtle, but you feel it. And that's where you want to make your incision. But that's not going through cartilage, it's going through this soft tissue in between.
My mistake. You mentioned in your direct testimony that you can't say with any certainty what level of force was necessary to make this wound.
No, I can't give you a number. No.
And you said that but you are aware that there are some variables that can give us some information about the level of force.
Yep.
If you're looking at a spectrum from very little to a whole lot.
Yeah, they are, but from my point of view, it's the tip of the blade that really, once the tip of the blade overcomes the skin, the greatest resistance is from the skin.
Correct.
And once you get over that, you'd be surprised how little actually is involved. But that doesn't mean that the person wasn't using a lot of force. It just means I can't tell you.
Right, I understand. And in this particular case, the tip of the knife that caused this wound was triangular in shape. Are you aware of that?
I don't believe the knife was shown to me. I wasn't brought the knife from memory, at least. Look, I've seen so many cases since in between. I might be missed, but I don't think. But I think I may have seen a photograph of the knife.
So what is it your understanding that it was a triangular tip?
Yeah, like a typical kitchen large carving knife, I guess is what I would call it. Yeah.
And would you agree that that type of tip is actually, geometrically speaking, is the easiest to penetrate the skin with?
Yeah, so that's a sharp tip, and that once it penetrates the skin, we don't anticipate much more force being required for it to continue in.
I want to ask you a question about the toxicology in this case. I know you personally did not perform the toxicology tests, but you received the results of the toxicology tests on Collin Griffith's blood, right?
Yes, correct. We take the samples that are sent to a toxicology laboratory. It's a whole different world. They live in a different place, but they're the ones who do the testing. It's up to us to do the interpretation.
Right, and in this particular case, while you didn't find that the toxicology results contributed to Collin Griffith's death, there were some drugs in her system that you were at least concerned enough to note in your report, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I use the word concern. I'm kind of obligated to tell the truth, and if they're in the report, I've got to report that. I can't hide it. But there were 2 drugs present. That is correct.
Okay, what were the drugs?
Please don't go too far.
One drug is called alprazolam. You might know it as Xanax, and the other drug is amphetamine.
Okay. Tell the jury about alprazolam.
So I'm sure I'd be surprised if you haven't heard about Xanax. It's a drug which is is widely abused by many people, but it's a legitimate drug. It's prescribed. Typically, it's belong to a class of drugs similar to Valium. It's a benzodiazepine, and it's used typically for anxiety. People who are prone to anxiety or have anxiety. It can be used for other reasons, but that's the main reason. People who who have symptoms or signs of anxiety. There might be heartbeat, racing heartbeat, chest palpitations, whatever the case may be, not sleeping well. Typically, Xanax can be prescribed for that.
As far as some of the side effects that could occur from alprazolam, do some of those side effects, although they might be rare, include racing thoughts?
Yeah, it's like any drug. No drug is perfect. Some drugs, they can have strange side effects. It's true. Can Xanax cause the opposite almost of what it's designed to do? Like any drug, that can happen. It would be very rare, but it can happen.
What about agitation? Can Xanax cause agitation?
Oddly enough, it's paradoxical. It's given for agitation, so why would it be causing that? In very rare cases, it's been known to happen.
And what about risk-taking behavior? Can it also cause that?
Risk-taking behavior. What do you mean by risk-taking behavior?
That's just what the literature said. That's the term I'm asking about. And it can be interpreted many different ways.
Yeah, it can. Yeah. It is a drug. It is a drug that's commonly abused, I suppose. So if people are using it in an abusive manner, that's not the medical reason why they're taking it or the reason why they prescribed it. So I'm not sure what risk-taking behavior is, but it can be abused or misused.
You have no idea whether Collin Griffith had a valid prescription for Xanax.
I do not.
The amount that was in her blood could have been well above a therapeutic dose that a doctor would prescribe, correct?
Tricky one to answer because Xanax is like most other it's being quite advantage if you drink alcohol. You probably noticed that the first time you drank alcohol, it had a certain effect on you. But as you continue to drink and get older, you seem to need more of the alcohol to get the same effect. That's tolerance. So you need more of the drug for it to do the same thing. Xanax is certainly prone to that. So looking at a blood level in a post-mortem setting doesn't tell you a lot about whether the person was taking too much or it's had an effect on them, or this could be her normal. This could be just the amount she needs to have to be on a steady keel. Maybe it was a lot higher in the day. This is just a snapshot of what we caught. There's also another reason to make it complicated for you. I mean, it does take a while to get through all of this. There's a thing called post-mortem redistribution, okay? And that is a circumstance where if you take a certain drug or certain drugs for long enough in your life, you would think that they go in, circulate around your blood, and then the body gets rid of them. Not true, right? If you take certain drugs long enough, the body goes in, circulate around the blood, and then there's part of them are stored, sequestered, like a jury is sequestered in a room, and they're not available to the body, but they've dissolved into fatty tissues, or they've dissolved in other compartments of our body, which is water, fat, protein, and so on. And then after death, when you die, those stores are released, and they go back into the blood. Some of them do. So sometimes the blood result you're looking at is actually higher than it would have been when she was alive, or anybody who's alive. So it's another factor we have to take into account. And Xanax is one of those drugs. So depending on how long and how much it was taken, this 27 could be a little higher than what it would have been at the time of her death. But in any event, it is not at a level that would concern me that it participated in her death
Please, just so we don't have to keep fighting, can you, these highly political cases, could you just maybe take it in Discord or something, so we don't have to sit here and discuss, because you won't agree on them because you are watching at it from both perspectives, and I don't really care about it. He was found guilty. If he gets appeal, we'll go again. So instead of getting angry at each other and yelling and all that always come from these highly politicized cases, what's this case? Go outside, watch the flowers. Maybe it's Friday. We don't need to get in each other's throats because we can't agree on different cases. Thank you, please.
That it would have impaired her beyond some extraordinary means. It's almost, if you're doing enough of these cases long enough, 27 is not high, and it wouldn't concern me personally.
Okay. But it could be above a therapeutic dose that a doctor prescribed to her.
Yeah, so again, for the same reason I've just explained, therapeutic, we can't use the term therapeutic because we're not dealing with a therapeutic situation because it's post-mortem. And secondly, I don't know how much she's been prescribed or how
Or
much
if
she's
she's
taken.
been prescribed.
Or even if she is being prescribed. Correct. I don't know that.
Okay, so then let's go to the amphetamine.
I have a few sets of Lego flowers.
What is amphetamine?
So amphetamine is a stimulant drug. It's belonging to the amphetamine class. It's a subclass of another division of drugs called the phenylethylamines, of which that's an entirely large family. But the amphetamines have been around for quite a while, maybe late 1800s, early 1900s. They really became into their own in probably World War II, when the German army figured out that by giving them to the soldiers that they needed less food and they could stay awake longer because they were running out of men. So they needed a few men to have. So they were given, Hitler famously was partly one of the many drugs he was taking as an amphetamine. So they've been around a long time.
So basically it's what some people refer to as speed or an upper.
It's an upper, it's a stimulant. It activates the nervous system to reduce tiredness or appetite and to stimulate the sensation of being awake.
Doesn't have to be anyone getting angry, but at some point someone will get angry. We've been through this so many times, and I don't care what the media said or didn't say. I watched the trial. I have my own opinions about it, but I'm not watching that trial right now. We can do a rewatch of it sometimes, and then we can all yell at it.
Which is sort of the opposite of what a benzodiazepine or alprazolam is designed to do.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Amphetamines can cause side effects such as erratic behavior.
Yes.
And sometimes even violence.
Any stimulant can be associated.
Jamie, you're a doctor. And
I am not. Jesus.
Xanax is a downer, right?
It's supposed to, that's the purpose of it.
So
It's supposed to
you're
relax
downing
you.
yourself while upping yourself with amphetamines.
And it makes no sense.
Anyone who do, hey, Tom Gillis, so good to see you back in chat. Hope you're doing better.
Hey, Tom.
Anyone who, of course, none of my viewers have ever partaken in anything illegal, but anyone who knows someone who have done it, because it just seems it's like doing coke and smoking weed. It's counterproductive. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is
I
Tom
mean, I
and
don't get
Brendan
it.
golfing together? Hopefully. I don't know. It's just weird to me that people do uppers and downers at the same time. I know some people take too much of one thing and then try to level it out, but I don't understand.
That's what it sounds like Lolita said. She said people will take Xanax to calm down if they're on speed. So maybe that's what she was doing.
With violent behavior in certain people at certain times, yes.
And Catherine Griffith had both amphetamines and alprazolam in her blood.
Yep, the amphetamine is reported at less than 0.1 milligram per liter, which is about 100 nanograms per mil. It's a very, very low amount, but it's there.
Do you know if she had been prescribed amphetamines?
I do not know that.
I don't have any other questions.
Oh, I just wanted to know about the mix of them.
Doctor, could you tell the jury about amphetamines being prescribed for
Like a legal prescription, what would be an example of that to treat what?
Yeah, so amphetamines are prescribed, can be prescribed. The more common one is ADHD. So typically, there are several formulas available on the commercial market. So that's one. And the other one that I know of is narcolepsy. People who suffer from sudden bouts of falling asleep can be prescribed amphetamines. So there are genuine, legitimate reasons why somebody may have it in their bloodstream.
The two substances in Kathy Griffith's toxicology results, is it a fair statement they have nothing to do with the cause of death or manner of death?
I don't believe so, no.
All right, I have no further questions for you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is he released?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Thornhill?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Doctor.
God. Thank you. Thank you.
I like math.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's just past 10:30. We'll go ahead and take our mid-morning recess of 15 minutes.
Dum, ba-dum.
Can you read right hand? Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Judge.
Jury, and spell your name for the record.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Robert Wolantis. Robert, R-O-B-E-R-T, Wolantis, W-A-L-A-N-T-A-S.
What the hell?
There to support him and to
Oh, it was a camera.
support and I. So we have 3 generations there. That was for her 90th birthday.
All right, now, Mr. Lantis, when the defendant moved back to Florida to live with Kathy, was Kathy happy about that?
She was thrilled.
Now, during the time period when, like, since then, when you moved back to Florida and lived with her, did she try to make up for lost time?
She did.
And what were some of the activities that she and your grandson would do?
They had to catch up on 3 years of school. Collin was 3 years behind. And then they also caught up on the 4th year. So he got 4 years of education done in a single year. That's a huge accomplishment. They went to Australia, Central America, the Caribbean. She wanted to give him.
Now, Mr. Lantis, what was your daughter's profession?
She was a teacher,
And what subject matter did she teach?
mainly English, but she would do other humanities as well.
Now, tell briefly to the jury about your relationship with your grandson. Did you have a relationship with the defendant?
We would talk on the phone, but I'm not a helicopter parent. I was there to support him and to support Kathy and to love them and be there for them.
Based upon your personal observations, did it appear that the defendant trusted you and would talk to you and confide in you about certain things, grandfather, grandson topics?
Yeah.
We had the medical examiner. Actually, the defense had more questions to him than the state. I don't know.
Did there come a time when the defendant said something to you that was...
Oh, and the mobile phone from yesterday, the judge upheld that he weren't allowed to use that because there's a certain right to privacy between a lawyer and his clients. It is superstar Billy Graham, yes.
very disturbing to you?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what the defendant said to you.
My grandson was very aggravated at his grandmother and his mother. He said, "I am so tired of these 2 bitches. I'm disgusted." He said, "My mom, I keep thinking over and over, I want to slit her throat. I want her to bleed out. I want to smell the blood. I want to feel the blood. I want to feel the life and the blood leaving her body."
Now, when he said that, what went through your mind?
I needed to take a deep breath
So funny how much he sounds like Jamie.
and do what I could to discourage that thought, because thoughts become words, words become actions.
What did you say to him in response?
I said, "Collin, I love you, buddy, but you can't have those kinds of thoughts and focus on them and then speak them, because you will cause them to become reality. Please think positive things about your mom, about yourself, and about a good future together."
Now, at any point, did you warn your daughter about what the defendant was wanting to do to her?
I did, but I did not use the exact words because there was so much malice.
Judge.
Now, explain to the jury, were you concerned that if you used the exact words the defendant said that he wanted to do to his mom, that might negatively affect their mother-son relationship?
It would, and I was afraid it would actually give her nightmares.
Did you tell her a clean version or a more vanilla version, if you will?
Yes, I did.
What was her response?
That he's been threatening her and he's been threatening Susan multiple times with killing both of them.
Now, knowing that though, did she still want him in the household and wanted to keep having the relationship with him?
Yes.
Oh, no one got your Coke.
So Wanda, I don't have any other questions for you.
Hey,
Thank you, Ross.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Mr. Wolantis, you didn't come to Kathy's funeral, did you?
No.
Can you explain why?
The funeral for a person is for those left behind. I will see Kathy in my thoughts, in my mind. That's where I want to keep her. Attending a funeral where her body is placed in the ground, that's not Kathy. Kathy's spirit is elsewhere. The essence of Kathy is elsewhere. She's with me. She's here in this room today with each of you. She can speak to you. She can speak to me.
Mr. Wolantis?
What is going on?
he was doing so well when he said, yeah, these two B words, I want to slit their throat and blood. And then all of a sudden, Kathy is in the room with us. Is he a little quick?
Yeah.
Did he hang out with Roger at the golf course?
Well, he doesn't need to be going into all this. Just go into what you're here for, guy.
Well, he's here to tell you the essence is everywhere. If you don't go to the funeral, they are in the room with you, and they can speak to the jury. I still think that we should allow psychics to commune
No,
with the
but
dead.
to turn to turn to the jury and say she's with all of you, like that's the weirdest thing for me. Nope.
Yeah, the question was why weren't you at the funeral? Because she's here with us. It's the granddad.
Goodness.
It's probably to infer that he didn't have that close of a relationship. Because, of course, we believe you when you say you're going golfing. Well, I made it up because you were looking for a fireball in your golf bag, but that's the same thing.
I asked whether you went to the funeral and why. Just answer that question, please.
You interrupted me as I was explaining why. That you don't like my response, ma'am, that's your problem.
Judge, would you?
Oh, here he goes.
Avoid the commentary and you've asked the question.
I did ask the question, but then he's talking about her being present and speaking to the jury, which is non-responsive.
Sustained as to non-responsive. That portion.
Mr. Wolantis, the picture showed a trip that you took with Kathy. That was one trip, right?
That's correct.
Have you taken any such trips with any of your other children?
No.
Did you have memory problems, Mr. Wolantis?
With what, ma'am?
Just in general.
Oh, sometimes I might think it was something that occurred a week ago, and it's actually a week and a half ago.
But that's the extent of your memory problems?
Usually, yes.
When was it that you say Collin told you that he wanted to slit his mother's throat?
I believe it was 4 months before she was murdered. It may have been before that.
And Judge, I'm going to ask that he be instructed not to use terms like that. That's for the jury to decide.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is up to you to decide whether or not there was a murder in this case. You'll disregard that. The use of that word.
Mr. Wolantis,
Still a case,
please tell us
state's
the
case
month,
in
if
chief.
you
Yes.
remember, that Collin supposedly told you the things that you've shared with the jury today.
May.
May of what year?
2024,
Okay. And how did he tell you? Was it over the phone or by text?
over the phone.
Okay. And what's your phone number?
505.
La 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 la.
This is being broadcast. I really don't want everybody calling me.
Would you shut the feed off, please, for just a moment?
Jamie Betty in Florida.
All right. That's fine.
Mr. Wolantis, do you have any other phone numbers that Collin would have talked to you on?
No.
You wrote it in private chats, and
And you're-
yes, I can get the phone number.
Certain that the phone call happened in May of 2024, aren't you? Because you said it happened shortly before the presidential debate where Joseph Biden had to later withdraw from the presidential race, correct?
It was before that. How much before that? Was it a month? Was it a month and a half? Could it have been 2 months? Sure.
My comments is your problem. You killed the subs. What subs? What's going on? Jamie?
I have no idea.
Oh, we'll just smile and wave.
Yeah.
What subs? She's implying he is demented. He was giving his phone number away.
You came to court here in Florida back on January 14th of 2025, correct?
Yes.
And you rose your right hand, swore to tell the truth.
Yes.
Do you remember being asked this question and giving this answer? Question. Now, did your grandson, Collin Griffith, then at some later time make some very disturbing statements to you about what he wanted to do to your daughter, his mom? Answer. A few weeks before the disappointing presidential debate in June, which we can all snicker about, Collin was telling me, and then it goes on to repeat what you said earlier, but
Yes.
you remember saying it was a few weeks before the debate.
Yes.
Did you ever call the police about this statement that you claim Collin made to you?
I called the police here. Yes.
Oh, I meant at the time that he made it to you. So in May of 2024, or a few weeks before the debate.
No.
So let's talk about your call to the police in September of 2024. You found out from your son, John, that Kathy died, correct?
Yes.
He called you.
Yes.
At some point after John called you and told you that, you watched a press conference that was put on by Sheriff Brady Judd, correct?
Yes.
You watched it in its entirety, right?
Yes.
And it was about 20 minutes long, if you remember.
About, yes.
And Sheriff Judd described in detail how Kathy died, right?
Yes.
And it was only after you watched that press conference that you took the initiative to call the police here.
Yes.
They didn't contact you as a close member of Kathy's family to get any information from you, did they?
Initially, no.
Right, you contacted them.
Correct.
So you inserted yourself into the situation.
Yes.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask. Sorry. Mr. Walantis, how often would you say that you talk to your grandson Collin on the phone?
No. Somewhere between once a week, every 2 weeks.
For what period of
3 weeks.
time?
It's up to him.
No, up until when? Like over the months since he had been living in Florida with his mom, every week, every 2 weeks from.
Things dramatically decreased after we spoke at that time.
So you say that it decreased after you spoke with him in probably May of 2024, and he made this supposed statement to you.
Yes.
Did you text with him still or no?
There may have been some. I don't recall every text, every phone call exactly.
So, Mr. Walantis, can you explain why in Collin's phone records there are a total of 3 phone calls between you two from mid 2023 till September of 2024?
Yes, I can explain why.
Okay. Why?
Well, there's Collin's phone. Collin had an initial phone that his mom got for him. Then he got another phone number. And then often when Kathy would talk, she would then hand her phone to Collin, and we talked from there. So you have 3 different phones.
Oh, do you know what phone you talked to him on every week up until September of 2024?
On my phone, I know
Right,
that
the
much.
phone- the
Which
phone
one?
He was using,
He was on one of the 3.
but only 3 calls on the phone that we are all aware of.
No, there's 3 phones, ma'am, not just one.
The records we have. Sorry.
Imagine how many know the records.
Sustained.
And you said that there may have been some text messages. So the text messages that are shown by the records indicate that there have been no text messages between you and Collin since Father's Day of 2023, when he texted you Happy Father's Day. Does that make sense?
Most everything was phone calls. There were some texts since then between one of the 2 of Collin's phones.
Do you know where Collin kept this mysterious other phone?
I don't know about a mysterious phone, ma'am. I said there were 2 different phones he had. He had one phone number, and then he got another phone number. And that was something that he and Kathy arranged.
And this is something that Kathy told you.
No, he had one phone number, and I put it in for Collin Griffith. Then he told me that he had another phone number. His mom got him a different phone. So I put that phone number in, and then Kathy's phone. So that's the 3 phones.
I don't have any other questions.
Yeah, just read.
the amended part was okay, but this phone
Mr.
call
Volantis,
didn't land.
the defense said that you inserted yourself into this situation. Do you recall that?
Yes,
You are the deceased victim's father, correct?
yes, I am.
Did you insert yourself into anything voluntarily?
When Collin and I spoke about that disturbing phone call, I told him that if anything happened, I would be talking with people officially instead of being quiet.
And does it make sense that the murder victim's father calls law enforcement? Excuse me. Does it make sense that
Objection, it's calling for speculation.
Let me hear the question. Don't answer the question until I say so.
Yes, sir.
did it make sense that the deceased victim's father would contact law enforcement with important information as you did?
Sustained. It's for the jury to decide, Mr. Cleveland.
Now, when you called law enforcement on September 23rd of 2024, you told law enforcement the disturbing violent statement that the defendant made, correct?
I did.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. Is the witness released?
He is, Your Honor.
Ms. Thornhill?
I have no problem with it either.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
I don't think that landed that well.
Your Honor, there's going to be a witness from out of county that's available at 1 o'clock. The only witness for today is Detective Peters, which will be lengthy testimony.
All right. That witness is not due till 1, or might that witness be here at 12:30? Do you know?
The more
For Bradenton Police Department.
law enforcement.
I worked in Louisville, Kentucky, for Louisville Metro Police Department. Worked in for 5 years. With them, I did a little bit of the division level task force team, apprehending subjects and drug traffickers. Moved to Florida, worked for Bradenton Police Department, and then now work for Shelby County.
All right, Deputy Ellis, I want to direct your attention to a specific date. On November 14th of 2023 in the morning time, did you respond to an address, a residence in Port Charlotte, based upon a report you received that the defendant made statements that if deputies made him get in the car with his mom, he would kill her?
Yes,
And where was that statement made? Where was the defendant when he made that statement?
at the Shelby County Jail.
And was that on the date prior to you responding to the residence?
Yes.
The morning of November 14th, describe to the jury the reason for you responding to their residence.
I received my sergeant received a call and stated that the defendant had made a statement that he was going to kill his mom if he was forced to get into the car with her. We went to the residence, the defendant's residence, spoke with him, ultimately placing him under a Baker Act.
And what was the reason that you placed him under a Baker Act?
From the statement saying that he was going to kill his mom at the jail, and just speaking with him not knowing what he was going to do.
That he previously had threatened the mom and maybe the grandma.
He was at the home with his mom.
Now, were you wearing a body cam when you interacted with the defendant and his mom at the residence?
Yes,
And was Corporal Joey Shaw also with you?
yes,
And did your body cam capture some footage of your interaction and Corporal Shaw speaking to the defendant?
yes,
Did you have an opportunity to see State Exhibit 194 briefly before court today?
yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would move State 194 in evidence.
Any objection? Just received.
And with the court's permission, if I may publish that, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you.
I haven't seen the witness list. Well, I have. Well, I could, but I didn't.
John, this should be John.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Is Colin home?
Yeah, you guys can come on in. He's doing Sandy Marches. He's not a happy camper right now. You can figure the parts and bells on.
What's up, man? What are you doing?
He's doing Sandy Marches as a form of discipline ever since he got home. I have that right there recording it so you can see everything. I'm sorry? Do what? Just so you know, it's being recorded because as soon as he got home, I had him start doing Sandy Marches.
Is it working?
He beat the shit out of me last night, so
Right.
this is his form of discipline for.
That's something for us to decide.
Okay. Can we,
Yeah, we'll go
just gonna
outside.
talk to him else, okay? I wanna talk to her, we'll just figure out what happened.
What's going on?
Last night, me and my mom got into a physical altercation. I got arrested for domestic battery, but when it comes to judge today, I've already felt defender and see how it goes.
Okay, so how is the situation with you and mom right now? Things calm down?
No,
What's going wrong? Where are we at?
No, sir, it's not good. She thinks that I can shut of her. I don't. She thinks that I'm like psychotic, like literally psychopath, sociopath, something like that. I don't know exactly where she's at. She thinks I'm gonna kill her. I want to kill her, but I want to be shot at her.
Do you?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anyone, let alone my mom. You said this happened, but I'm not gonna take what I consider abuse when someone's attacking me. And
How is she attacking you? What
when
kind of
she attacked me, when she threw a punch at me and got on me, I got on her back. I got her off of me. She put me down, and then I finally called Rentis, and then he sent someone out.
You called who?
Rentis, Detective Rentis.
Okay. So basically what we came back is when the jail was releasing you to your mom this morning, was there anything said then?
Yeah, I said that I didn't really feel safe there with myself and with her, and that I didn't know what was gonna happen. I still don't know what's gonna happen.
As far as what?
Her attacking me or her doing something to herself or me.
Okay, what about you doing something to her? Are you able to control yourself?
I'm in a constant state of fight or flight, and I don't know. If I think she's gonna do something, even if she's not, I might act. I'm not gonna go crazy or anything, but I'm not sure.
I'm on an island in Denmark. I know it's not hearsay per se because it's her testimony, but isn't this good for him? She was attacking him, and he's calm, and yeah, he beat the crap out of me yesterday, and then she just walks away. It's Collin who's talking. We have 127 islands with people on it. It sounds like he is always trying to de-escalate. Every time we hear him talk, it sounds like he's trying to de-escalate the situation. Let me get away from here. I don't want to go back there. She attacks me. I put her on the ground. I don't. Maybe.
Yeah. You're not sure if you're gonna hurt your mom?
Only if she hurt me.
Okay. Did you make any statements saying that you were gonna kill
No,
your
sir.
mom
No,
if
sir.
you got in the car with her?
No, sir.
I'm trying to figure out why we would have a corporal at the jail that took you out, that dropped you off with your mom and telling us that you said, "Don't put me in the car with her. I'm gonna kill her."
Yeah.
Was that said?
I did not say I was going to kill her. I did not say kill. I don't know why he sent me back here. I asked him not to, but he said he didn't like my attitude and that to just what. But his words not.
Okay. Well, we're just trying to figure out. We just want to make sure we do everything we can to prevent anything happening.
Sir, given the situation, I don't think that we should be in the same house at all.
Again, he told the DCF worker, "Don't put me back there." Now he told the person who picked him up, "Don't put me in the car with her." And now he told the officer, "I don't think we should be in the same house." Bit like Johnny Depp, just Johnny ran to the bathroom. He didn't tell people he was going on alive. Yeah, maybe. It's not hearsay when it's a party opponent. It's her. Maybe. I don't know.
Everybody else at the conclusion of your interaction with the defendant, did you Baker act on that same shortly thereafter?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Why was he Baker active? Why wasn't she? She's the.
How long had Collin
the
been home
victim.
from the jail when you all arrived at the house?
I have no idea.
the phone thing isn't allowed in, and his granddad heard him say, "I'm gonna unalive these B words," and then we just heard him super calm, and then he was taken to a psych ward. Yeah. Oh, it's him. Then why were we allowed to hear the when she testified that he beat her the day before? Yeah, either keep him in an institution or tell the mom, let him live with the grandma. He was a year away from being 18. Yeah, this is also a case against the system, because it seems like I don't know. It just seems like there were so many red flags with her history, with his history, with their history, that someone should have done something. But I just got that vibe from the DCF worker yesterday. She tried to do it, but someone above her cut the legs off and said, "Nope, not going to waste money on this."
You don't know when the sergeant from the jail called to make this report?
No, ma'am. I just received the information from my sergeant.
So he could have been home for hours by the time you got there. Is that possible? When you first walked in to the home, Collin was standing with 2 weights over his head and doing marching in place, correct?
Just one.
Just 1 weight?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry, 1 weight. And Kathy Griffith had indicated to you that she had been making him do that since he got home from the jail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
If Collin had wanted to kill her, unprovoked, unattacked, he could have hit her in the head with that weight that he was holding over his head, couldn't he?
Objection, speculation.
It's possible.
He could have done something while they were driving home in the car together, right?
Possible.
But he didn't do any of those things that you're aware of.
Yes, ma'am.
And he told you repeatedly that he didn't want to do anything to his mom, but that if she attacked him or if she came at him, that he would do something in response to her attacking him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Redirect.
Deputy Ellis, would it be smart to murder someone in a house that's got video cameras in every room?
No.
I don't have anything further here.
Is the witness released?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Well, now he's a dumb criminal because he murdered her. A smart criminal because he murdered her
Excellent.
somewhere else.
You're on the state house, Detective Jenny Peters, the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
He called the police there himself.
That's the witness reviewing.
Well, again,
Detective Peters, we left off with your portion of the test.
Jamie, can you just read the text when he goes up there?
What?
well, again, well, again,
Hello again, loser. Frickin' captions for the win today. Oh no.
Closed captions is great. This is the lead detective who
Oh boy.
who was stopped.
Oh my god. Stop it. Hello again, loser. I wish the judge did say that. Oh my god.
Because they claim self-defense. They claim the mom came at him with a pew-pew or something.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Ah.
this is the lead detective who was stopped yesterday because he wanted to testify about what he found in his cell phone. That's not allowed in.
Detective Peters, we left off with your portion of the testimony yesterday afternoon. We concluded with the ring video footage from September 7th, 2024, which was a Saturday. Is that correct?
Correct.
And at that point, that the defendant had left the house and Kathy was in the house by herself, correct?
Correct.
Is there also an exhibit in the form of 198 that captures some clips from Sunday, September 8th?
There is.
Was that the day that Kathy died?
Yes.
Later that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move state 198 in the evidence and ask that it be played for the jury.
Any objection?
No objection.
It is received. You may publish.
Thank you.
More videos we can't see.
Is this clip at least from the early morning hours of Sunday, September 8th?
Yes.
No, you told me you were calling him. You told me you were gonna get your neighbor over there, or I'm sending the police. Do you want the police to go? Then you'd rather have the police go. Okay, that's fine. That's the only thing I needed. I will not take a call from you after this ever again. If Colin's not here by 10 o'clock, I'm dead to you. Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Yes or no? I need a yes or no. Yes or no? Do you understand me? Okay. You don't understand.
I think she was psychic because she was dead to him. A little Friday humor. Everyone, don't take this the wrong way. I'm just throwing this out there, not throwing it up. Hearing this, to me, she seems very manipulative. Using the guilt card. Talked about it yesterday, how some moms do that, especially to daughters. It's normally where they, oh, well, you don't love me, but I did everything for you. If you're the juror and you're sitting up there, yeah, he might have said, I'm going to unalive her, but then you hear on the police call, he's quite calm. And then you hear all the videos we have had from the house is her yelling. The only thing he said is there's no struts. It can't support it. There's no struts in this wall. And she started yelling. This is one of those cases where I think the prosecutor might want to go with a lesser included. I don't know why.
I agree. I mean, well, we had testimony from that lady that was she a cop or DCF or whatever, and she flat out said it. She says, yes, she's very manipulative.
Yeah, the DCF lady who said she lied about having a firearm and then she turned it over to them later. Thank you for 15 months, Pixie. Oh, so nice of you being here so long.
I know.
Sounds like your sister, 100%. She does, but we don't know how he's acting for her to act like this. Either way, she sounds cluster B like. Yeah, but the problem is, this is what the jury sees. Again, we are the jury. We see this evidence. And the evidence is she's always mad. He just answered the door the same day he got out of prison saying, I just don't want to be here. Yeah, and either he's the smartest person alive or the stupidest person alive. I don't know.
I don't know either. It's just,
I didn't know he had an account with money in it. Oh, he had a trust fund, but she was the one who controlled it. Still not a reason for what he did, no. But it could be, if you're going for first-degree murder, that's quite something else than second-degree murder. So, yeah.
well, that's what I mean. It's just like, it doesn't excuse it, but
No, but it could provoke him, and
well,
I'm just
especially
sitting-
if what they're saying is true, where she attacked him
yeah,
and she had a pew pew, because that's what was being said. So
yeah.
it's like, I don't know.
No, and Jinx, the problem is exactly this. It's out of context, but all we hear is what's happening in her. We don't know what he was answering in what he was answering the other end of the phone. Maybe he was saying, well, I'll show you you're dead to me. We don't know that. But this is what the jury hears. Because there's only a video camera in the house and she's calling him at the grandma's house.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah, and he sounded very respectful to the cop.
well, and he's trying to get out of the situation multiple times. And it's just keeps getting thrown back, and it's just it's so toxic.
Well, I don't know. It's yeah.
Did we have a site? No. What was that lady that testified? Wasn't she a therapist or something?
The DCF worker.
Yeah.
Well,
What
she
was
had
her
a kind of a degree, but she's a DCF worker. She
Well, I
wasn't
thought
their
she was like counseling them in that way.
No, yeah, she did in-house counseling for the family. So she went over there and said, "Oh, you're fed. You go to school. You're not
Yeah.
beating each other. See you next Thursday." That's their counseling.
Okay. Well, I was just curious because Pixie had said.
Oh no, she wasn't a therapist. It was just I don't know what you call it. In Denmark we call it hjemme hos sig. That means it's someone who just visits you in your house.
Yeah.
You want a copy of the pinky? Oh, wait. Oh, second Lacey. Hold on. So are you returning home or no? Oh, Monique. You want a copy of the pink piece of paper that shows it? Oh, Monique. Call Detective Lacey. Hold on. So are you returning home or no?
Just no. That's what I heard. But she said she wouldn't call him again.
Look at pictures. Okay, it doesn't matter. You won't know when you look at me. here. I said, do you have him? You said no, and I don't know where he is. You said that to me. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you still don't have eyes on him. He's talked to you. No, he's already talked to you because I can see where you guys have been talking. So if he's not here by 10 o'clock, I'm sending the cops. Oh, it is. It is. We're all losing our jobs, and he's losing everything. That's why I signed the car over myself. I need the money. So I'm taking the car. I'm taking everything. So I'm about to go up there and go and get the car because the car is mine.
Said I need the money.
It's in my name. The mobile notary came. I don't have to send you copies. I already sent you the title.
Is she talking to the grandmother?
Yeah, that's the grandmother.
So why does she need him home right now? Or
I already
he's
sent you a picture of the title, and you already saw what it looked like. So I'm not going to sit here. Okay, then you please go back to the pictures because you also said you don't have the pink picture that shows it. You also said that you don't show the call records and that you believe Collin, even though he's there at your house. So you're illegally the wall. Tell him your house, and then he has to go back home.
Yeah, everything she bought is, as I understood it, was what was left from the dad.
Yeah, I remember them testifying and saying the car, phone, stuff like that was all paid for from the money he had, and she was using it.
She took out money for his computer in his trust fund and then took it back. Which wouldn't that be akin to stealing? But again, she's a parent, so she can of course take things. But if she paid for the car in his name and put it in his name, can she then just take it back because she's a parent?
Yeah. But making that comment, I'll just sell the car. I need the money anyway. Like, it's kind of telling. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Is that correct? No. I'm asking you a specific question. Have you told him he needs to go back to his house? No. Did you tell him he needs to be back home to this house by 10 a.m.?
She was late 30s.
He needs to vacate your house. He does not have permission to be at your home. No.
That's what I told him.
Okay. Okay, and that's not what he did. He called me and he said,
I think she was 39 when this happened, so yeah. But like, if he's just at his grandma's house because he needs to get away from her, what is her problem? Just let it be.
Didn't the DCF workers say that they had an agreement that she and the grandma kind of should share him a bit so he had a place to get away? I believe they had something like that arranged.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's sadly how it is.
he completely blocked me and he's completely removed himself from his Apple ID so that he cannot be tracked. So right on that, no, his phone is off. His phone is off now. I told you that. I said if he didn't get in the car and come home, that was what was going to happen. And you said I will make sure he is there by 10 a.m. I told you I was going to if you didn't do this. No, that's not what I said. His phone is still on right now. His service is working. He's not going to answer. He's not going to answer. I showed you. Oh, stop. Will you listen to me? Do you see the call log? He did not try to call Monique at all yesterday. He is lying to you. I sent you his entire call log. That's from AT&T. That's not from his iCloud account. That's from AT&T. That's not what the court order said. It said he specifically has to leave a voicemail. But it doesn't matter because if he doesn't, that's fine. But I'm telling you right now, I have held everybody off. I said it's a private family matter. I'm sure he'll be back home. And everybody said, we'll give him 24 hours. That is until 10 o'clock today, Mom. That's why I said he had until 10 a.m. today. Mom, babe, it doesn't matter. Vacate me.
Did she call her mom babe?
No, I don't know. She's she's just freaking crazy.
Not allowed.
So there's a
Fourth
court
Amendment.
order that he had to leave a voicemail. So like she's ticked because she can't track him.
Yeah.
And like, but what? What's man? It's just hard when it's so out of context and you don't know.
Yeah, and
whole
we are
situation.
judgmental because it's a lawsuit. So of course we're judgmental.
Well, of course, because I mean, we're just hearing this woman being crazy and don't know what's going on, and it just sounds like she's losing her marbles.
It sounds like she's losing more than that.
Until 10 a.m. The police.
Well, yeah, not just a kid, but anybody. If you're in a relationship with another person who is like this,
I'm not speaking to you
so
anymore.
exhausting.
Either my son is in my driveway at 10 a.m. or we're not talking anymore. Okay, that's fine. You don't want to talk to me? That's fine. Goodbye.
And now she's threatening her mom not to talk to her again. I think the mom felt lucky.
Oh, I can't listen to this anymore. I kind of want to know some of this. Well, the prosecution's playing it, and to me, it makes her sound really bad.
Yeah, he said, I need my fucking computer. And I said, fine, come and get it. I told him to be back after work. It's on the...
Hey, lady, you promised your mom you wouldn't call her again.
What the?
I don't give a shit. I don't give a flying fuck. Did I tell you? Did I tell you to let him stay at your house? Did I tell you to let him stay at your house? Have I or have I not told you multiple times in the past that he is never to stay at your house ever again? Not without my consent. And I have not consented. Do you hear me? Yeah, Collin. Answer me. Answer me. Do you understand that you do not have my consent to have Collin? Do you understand that? No, answer my question. Do you understand?
Both of them have been Baker acted. So the mom has attempted and threatened self-deletion multiple times and had a history of abuse.
And overdose, too.
Yeah, drug abuse. That's the thing I need to say.
Well, Colin's at his grandma's house. It's like if she knows where he is and he's safe and you can kind of get some sleep and be chill. Like I don't know like what this context is of this whole why he has to be home right now when he's where he's at. Like I don't understand why she's freaking out like this. Like say, okay, well then
send him home tomorrow if he's calmed down. I'll chillax tonight. I'm gonna do the Brandon and take a couple of shots. And again, it's out of context, but the jury is listening to this just as we are and hearing a woman who is clearly enraged. And how because she then drives over to that house, and if she's in that mental state when she arrives, is it a far-fetched that she could have grabbed something and come at him?
Well, that's what I mean. Then think about if she's at that level and then she's just, I mean, even the neighbors testify that she was speeding up, slamming, looked very angry when she showed up that day.
Yeah, and flailing her arms. I'm just, again,
I don't know.
I don't sway anyway. I'm just saying, as a juror member, wouldn't you sit here and think, oh my God, that mom was a little, is it a far-fetched for someone to believe she might have attacked him in that mental state? She's threatening her mom.
Oh, yeah.
Classic case of double X chromosome syndrome. As I was told by the White Rabbit, who will be on Stabulate tomorrow, always tell women, have you tried calming down?
Oh my
It'll fix
God.
most
Could you
problems.
imagine if somebody told her to calm down?
Oh, then she would kill
She'd take your
someone.
head off.
Yeah. Yeah, based on this snippet plus the DCF worker, but and that's the thing. The jury have heard everything in this house was bad. Yes, Collin might have been charged with unaliving someone before, but this mom was cray. Both of them had gone to the hospital. He's the only one who seems calm when we hear the video clips. I'm just saying it could lead someone to say, maybe she took a swing. I'm just, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we, like, but you also, like, yeah, Colin's probably, I mean, obviously he did what he did, but now I'm kind of seeing like learned behavior. That's what it is. Like, we learn
Yeah.
our behavior from our parents when we are the way they act and the way they, our environment, the things that are happening around us, we learn from what we see. So he was probably just as crazy, but he seemed like in the situations that we've
Yeah,
seen,
he's the calm
he
one in the
seemed pretty
situation.
like, I
Yeah.
want out of here. I want to get away from here. I'm going to snap, basically. I need to get away. And she's like, nah. Let me keep getting in your face. And that's just like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and they're both high strong, and I don't know anything about his upbringing other than at some point he lived with his mom, his dad instead of his mom. And again, if she's living off of his trust, maybe she's skimming some money for herself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That happens. She wouldn't lose it just because he stayed at grandma's house,
Yeah.
unless unless grandma gets power of attorney over him.
Mhm.
She would still be the trustee, wouldn't she? So I just think it's a lot of stuff could be fixed if people calm down. That's why I always say, Jamie, I think it's a you problem.
No, I didn't. I never threw him out in his own ring camera. Never threw him out. Never threw him out. Never threw him out.
Grandma sounds cray too.
I didn't.
Grandma's mad.
You do not have my permission to have Collin in your home. Collin needs to be returned to me immediately. If when you arrive at your home, Collin is at your home, please inform him he is immediately. If neither of those things happen, and I find out that he is still in your custody, I am standing in front of my ring camera having this conversation with you on speakerphone. I expect Collin to be here back at my house. And if he's not back by 10 a.m., I'm going to take it if you are holding him hostage and not giving him back to me. Thank you. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.
Call the cops on your mother?
Yeah.
Wow. Come on now.
Yeah, I think it's the same here, that she has some kind of right to some money, so she can probably write in and say, hey, he's going to college, I'm buying him a MacBook Pro, so I need 8 bananas to pay for it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, to threaten to sell his stuff off if that's the money he had to pay for it because you need the money, like, it's such a D-bag move.
I'll put you. I drive your car, you can drive the other Jetta, and I'll just follow you. And I was like, okay. So his aunt lives there. I tried to go in, looked, it's not, his car isn't there. So I don't know where he parked it, where he put it. I don't know, because I sent a text that said, hey, I'm selling your car. He decided to drive off with it. That was stupid because I'm signing this over to them, and they said that they'll just report it stolen. So if he's caught, excuse me. So also, in order for him to have a driver's license, I have to give my consent. Okay, otherwise they have to wait until they're 18. The fact that his name is on the title It's there.
They had some kind of agreement that he could kind of get to a safe space with his grandma. That was what the DCF worker talked about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
See?
there's a kidnapping charge on this
Yes.
because he dragged
And is
her
that
into the house.
because he took her into the house by her hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Hi, this is Catherine Griffith. I'm actually Collin Griffith's mom. I was just calling to confirm, did Collin quit yesterday? Collin Griffith, yeah, when he called in, I know he didn't show up to work yesterday. Did he quit yesterday as well? I just
Oh
need
my
to know.
God, she's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Is there a way you can find out for me? This is his mom, because he hasn't come home. So we're trying to find him.
Where is that?
You're on the phone. Stop using the ice maker, whatever it is. I don't know.
Like,
This is her phone voice. It's kind of like mine.
it's kind of like mine too.
I also have the, hey, you called. Oh, so nice to talk to you. Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Aw.
do that.
How can I help you today? Yeah.
Is she playing a glockenspiel, or what is going on in this case, Jamie?
She's a lunatic. I'm sorry saying it.
Yeah, Red, he's back to you. I'm gonna call me back. Okay. Yeah, I just need to know Collin told him that he's quitting or what he said. Collin is missing and hasn't been.
Stop telling people his
Almost 24 hours.
business. Oh my
Yeah.
God, she drives me crazy. I hate people that do that.
Most of the
Like,
time,
all you
she-
had to do was call. Okay, if you were going to call his work, which I don't think, why do you have to? I mean, if you wanted to check if he was there, right? If you legitimately didn't know where he was, which I doubt she knows where he is because she's trying to look for him because he's probably didn't come home from his grandma's yet. She's calling to be like, is he working today? No? Okay, thank you. You don't do like, he's missing, and let me just start talking about all of his business. It's just so.
yeah. Oh, and
ugh.
he skipped school, and he's such a bad son. And if he quit, it would be good for you because he's a little
Yeah.
dick weevil.
Plus, he doesn't like, this isn't like I mean, it's Domino's. He's 17 years old. Like, it's not like his
Hey.
end all be all job.
A lot of great people started at McDonald's.
I'm not saying if you still work there, you're, like, come on, no. But I'm just saying at this point, that's like, I mean, why? Like, she's like, he quit. Like, okay, well, did he quit? So what? If
Quick
he quit? Like,
announcement on the channel: we support all our fast food
I
workers.
support
Jamie-
anybody who works
Jamie
fast food.
doesn't
Like,
look
that's a
down
rough
her
job.
nose at you and say, "Do you work at Domino's?" We of course say, "Oh, you're gainfully employed. Good for you."
Hey,
And as we know from the Adam Montgomery, you can work at Dunkin' Donuts if you have a slight meth problem. Well,
yeah, it's
even
fine.
more than a slight meth problem. So,
Listen, I worked at my high school job for like almost 10 years. I mean, I moved up in the place and stuff, but and I moved on from it. But yeah, so I have no shame. No shame. Sounds delicious. Wonder if you get like discounts on pizza. I'd be a fatty.
Yeah. I had a girlfriend once who worked at a grill joint. The good thing was it was a fish restaurant, so most of it was deep fried fish. But oh, that smell of deep fryer. Oh.
She come over so like deep fried.
Yeah, she was. I'll just need a shower after work. No, take it
Oh,
off.
that's funny.
Do it slowly. Do some more.
Oh, geez.
Jamie, why do you make me say stuff like that?
It's because it's funny.
Her discounts and fatty from Jamie is that a new store opening. Oh,
Discounts and fatty.
Julie. That's back when we were younger.
Oh my God, Julie.
Oh, deep fryer smells better than most perfumes ladies wore when they were 17. I just got this new Britney Spears. Oh yeah, I got this Axe. I'm pretty sure we made mustard gas.
White
if we're in the
Diamonds
same
by
room.
Elizabeth Taylor.
How hard can it be? Sorry. We support all Domino's workers. We know it's a very hard job. Laura is up there today. Moving on up.
I still love that, Jess. It's still my jam. One of my jams.
I was paid a super chat for not singing last night.
But you won't, and that's the problem. He's had it turned on Do Not Disturb. He called me at 7:32 this morning and talked to me for 56 seconds and told me I was a crazy psychotic bitch and he wasn't leaving and that he was going to stay there with mama and that that's not a violation of his probation. I sent him a picture. Like, if he's sending you all these things, did he send you the pink picture that I sent to him that shows specifically, like, the pink sheet of paper they gave me that says he can leave the county to go visit his grandma? But it doesn't say he can leave the county to go visit his grandma. And that's what he thinks it means. And he thinks it means without my permission, he can just leave and go and do that.
What? It says he can leave the county to go visit his grandma, but that's not what it says. Oh.
Oh, yeah, everything that's it. No, it doesn't, because I specifically said, how are you going to live on your own? No, I even told our girls.
You hang out at a treehouse with a lady and...
No, I'm not leaving when I turn 18. You and I both know. Yes, I'm still leaving. This is all. I guess I don't, this is crazy. Will you tell me? Just sit back and stay with your mom. You'll sit and eat. There you go. Piece of shit that drives me crazy, or we're done. So he wants to do this. He wants to go to court. That's what he wants. He wants this. That's what he wants.
He wants to get away from you. Who wouldn't? Jeez.
I didn't change my phone. No, I changed the voicemail to say that nobody could call me. That was all I did. No, Mom, you're a fucking moron. My phone was never disconnected because if you would have tried to send a text, it would have showed you that it would have gone through.
just if anyone was in doubt, it's still the state playing this as evidence.
Went onto YouTube, pressed play for the. I went to go from the house. We already showed. He didn't show up to work yesterday, and I said, "Want to know where he went? The movies. I'll show you the receipt. He went to the movie theater. He went to the movie theater. And you know what he's been doing all day while he's at your house? Because it's showing up every time he takes a screenshot of it on his iPad account. He's playing video games, killing people. And I send those screenshots to you. So tell me how he's better off at your house where he's killing people. Pretend and making fun of it. And kidnapping them and having them tied to little chairs while he tortures them and kills them with other people in this little.
So we're doing the Tipper Gore thing now. Computer games made him do it.
Game scenario that he has. I sent you pictures of the screenshots where they're. I'm telling you right now. No, you're not! Because I'm driving up there. Listen to me. I'm going to be there before you. So it's going to go down before you even get there. I don't know what to tell you. I guess you can call in and tell him to run or try to run because I'm coming up there. I'm getting the car. The car is sold. He can either get in the car with me and come back home, or he can call. And then you better tell him that he needs to give me a goddamn phone call in 10 minutes. Yes, 10 minutes. Because he's answering your calls, he's not answering mine. He's answering Lacey's, not answering mine. He has me blocked. Are you going to call my son and tell him what I just told you? Call him and call me back.
I think she's trying to
Tell
kill me with
him
all
he
this
better
noise.
run. She's taking his car. Why does she gotta do 75 million retarded things? Sorry. She's on the phone with people. God.
This is kind of like talking to the expert.
Record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Collin, this is your mom. I am just calling you because I know you talked to Detective Lacey. She told you that you needed to be home today, and apparently you said, no, you're not coming home. And so I guess you were explaining the situation, and that if you don't come home, you are going to be charged with violating your probation. So I'm just warning you, I am on my way to you to pick you up because you're not allowed to stay away from me like this. You're not allowed to be in Mama's house, and I have every right to come and pick you up. So I'm coming to pick you up. Get in the car.
Oh my Lord.
Up to you.
Like, she is putting herself in these situations. I don't even want to say the words, but like asking for it, unfortunately. And I don't think that's true, but like he said, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to be around you. But he's going to call him 90 million times, and now she's going over there. And she's clearly
We don't know
in a state
what
of
the call
mind that
is.
she's not sane.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic.
Oh, Lord.
That was probably a mistake with his dad. It's a weird case, right? Because we're not showing the evidence. It's what do you call it? Radio theater. Not if it's
I said, "Prove or not," and told him to come back when we got his shit together. Yes, I did. Okay, it doesn't matter. Check your text. Okay, because it never said that via text. So have fucking fun with it.
why must it be so loud?
Do I need to wait for the police to get there?
I mean, if that's the
Probably
case,
should.
you should have just did that.
Okay,
Instead
we'll
of
see.
confronting. And mind you, she's known that he's saying these things that he said. And she's scared,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't know.
It actually is less. Go ahead. He has work from 4:30 to 8 today, 4:30 to 8:30. So, yeah.
No. And I'm. You just make it. Weren't at some point wasn't she was supposed to say on ring camera that if you don't come home now, I'll turn you in and I will say that you admitted that you unalived your dad or something like that.
I thought so.
That's what they talked about will be on the camera. And that should be the motive to unalive her, because it always works when you unalive someone who is about to spill the beans on you.
Yeah.
Hey, Natalie Cochran. Even though there was no proof he was going to spill the beans on you.
Mm-hmm.
But with this mom, how long have we been listening to this crapiola? It's been
And it was like, what, an hour yesterday and today?
Yeah, it's a couple of hours. But
this is the prosecution playing this, Lynn.
Yeah, this is prosecution playing this. But if you hear this, and then she, in the end of it, says, well, I'm going to turn him into the cops and say he killed his dad. Wouldn't you think, oh, that's just another pressure thing that she's going to use against him? Say, well, I know he killed his dad.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Well, I think they think too, like a lot of this is going to show, like, oh, see, he was so out of control. She couldn't. She was trying so hard to, be a mother and make sure everything was great. And unfortunately, I don't know how you spin that with what we're hearing, but I don't know.
And unaliving people as a solution to his situation is problematic, don't you know? It's kind of problematic to unalive someone when you already have been, but it could also be he is an absolutely broken egg that only has two modes, friendly or stabby.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just thinking, if the big crux is believe her, because she, at the end of these 2 hours yelling, will say, I'm going to turn you in because I you said that you did it. But I won't do it if you come home now. Would you think, maybe she's lying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He had that Collin 1 and Collin 2 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm just calling I'm in the car right now. I'm getting back in the car and I'm going to pick him up. And if once I'm in the car, he hasn't called me and told me anything. But that's not how it works, because he still has to go see Monique, and he sends Monique an email saying that he knows he violated his probation. And it's 2:53. It's less than 7 minutes. Goodbye.
She started calling him at 7 in the morning. This is at 2:53. So that's almost 8 hours she's been calling him.
Well, we don't know anything about the father situation. We don't know.
We don't know anything about the dad.
He could have been abusive. He could have been. We have no idea. He could have been worse than this woman, for all we know.
Yeah, or Collin could be a bad egg. But,
yeah, I mean, you just don't know.
This just makes me think how bad this kid had it.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into the dad case, so I don't know
Yeah.
anything about it.
I think they did mention something about she was abused by him, but in one of the maybe in the opening or something.
Oh, he's not there. Yeah, he won't answer when I call, so good luck. Tell him to do this right. Tell him to do this. I thought he was going to work.
Jeepers.
No. I'm not throwing that time. That's a lie. So you plan on going to there and telling them that I throw him out on this?
Yeah.
And these explosive mood swings. I think she should try coming down.
Why don't you tell her?
Was the last video that the jury saw the last video that captured Kathy alive?
Yes.
And did she leave the house in the clothes that she would die in?
Yes.
And did she have the brown,
So that was
brownish yellowish Kate Spade backpack?
Because she has ring cameras in her house to monitor Collin. But all we have heard on the ring camera from Collin is there's no struts in the wall. We can't hang it there. And then she called her grandma and yelled at about him because he didn't want to help her put a nail in the wall. Where was that?
What?
I'm going to turn you in and say that you unalived your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jemima.
Was she going to turn him in and say he did it on purpose? Because obviously he was charged, but they dropped the charges because they found that it was...
No, we were told that we would hear that on the ring camera.
No, but I'm just like, what is... I was just saying that, like, in general.
Yeah, but it's just weird because that was kind of the thing that they said. But maybe it's the ring camera at the grandma's house. Maybe there's more grandma's house.
Purse kind of over her shoulder.
She did.
And did you see that at the crime scene?
I did.
Was it soaked in blood?
It had blood on it, yes.
Now, let's switch subject matter for a moment. Now, done with the videos, going to text messages. I believe you mentioned yesterday the basic process of getting forensic downloads and information off the cell phones. Were you able to, from those cell phones, something called...
I think they would be allowed to if they have it as a motive and she's threatening him with that. I'm not sure.
The Cellbrite extraction report, generate a Cellbrite extraction report that detailed text messages on September 7th and September 8th.
Yes.
Describe to the jury a little bit. What does that mean, a Cellbrite extraction report?
It's just a report that's generated from the program that's used to download the phones through our computer crimes division.
From that, were you able to basically see all of the text messages between Kathy and the defendant on those last 2 days, the Saturday, September 7th and Sunday, September 8th?
Yes.
Were you also able to see the text messages between Kathy and her mom, Susan?
Yes.
And as the timeline kind of continues, and we'll focus obviously on those 2 days, would there be periodically photographs or pictures or attachments that Kathy would send to either her mom and or her son?
Yes.
And then some of those, were you able to kind of click on and print out?
Yes, I was.
Some of them, for some reason, is the pixelation such that you can't really see what it is for whatever reason?
Right. So some of the photographs, when you try to enhance them, they wouldn't enhance like through high definition. It would be completely pixelated and you wouldn't be able to tell what was in the photograph.
As far as you can tell, though, was there anything of major importance that you weren't able to see?
No.
Now, have you had an opportunity to see State Exhibit 188, which is the Cellbrite reports containing text messages and some photos from September 7th through September 8th between Kathy and her son?
Yes.
And were those obtained off of the defendant's cell phone?
Yes.
So is it a fair statement, even though that it was not possible to get a download from Kathy's phone, you were still able to see the content of the conversation because the defendant's phone was able to be downloaded?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, the statement moves State Exhibit 188 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
It is received.
And then 196, Detective Peters, is that a similar exhibit but from Susan Detman's phone?
Yes.
And does that show text message conversations between Kathy and Susan?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move State Exhibit 196 in evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
It is received.
And for the record, that includes the text messages from September 8th between the two ladies, correct?
Correct.
Now, from watching the videos, is it a fair statement that sometimes you can actually see Kathy sending texts or taking photos and then sending them to her mom or to the defendant?
It appears that she's texting and sending photos to someone in that moment.
And conversation-wise, are you able to see some things that Kathy refers to her mom, text messages that she sent as well, and subject matter that she was sending off to her son, the defendant?
Yes.
Now, did you come across, or did one of your expert computer crimes detectives come across a text message of note that was brought to your attention about an additional motive that the defendant had to kill his mom?
Yes.
Tell the jury just briefly, how did that come to your attention?
So early morning on the 9th of September, I received a phone call from our computer comms detective who was going through the download and explained to me they found an interesting text message that I needed to be aware of.
After reviewing that, were you able to create an exhibit within an exhibit, so to say, meaning you isolated that specific text message and it was able to show the date and the time?
I did.
All right, let's start with that, and then we'll backtrack to the text message conversations between Kathy and her son and Kathy and her mom.
Okay.
For the record, this is a composite 188.
It's not leading if they don't object. Hey, Gapster.
I'll bring this to you so you can read it to the jury, but for their benefit, just so they can see visually what it looks like, we'll put it on the Elmo here. All right, this is basically a cover page.
Today, I signed a couple of football players to Kiel Football Club. I haven't played football and never managed anyone. I don't know if last week what did I play last week? I played Project Hospital was what I played. I built a hospital last week. Sometimes I play Hearts of Iron and go for world domination. I hate this. You're gonna get violent of video games. I've been playing video games in my entire life. That's my way of de-stressing, because I can get into that world and just focus on it. It's such a stupid argument.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the heavy metal did it. I even played D&D back when it was satanic, and they thought we were unalive. The only thing, I'm at a level now where I can't figure out how to beat the mission, and I can't find any help online. It's annoying, but it's a good game. I like managing games because I'm not fast enough to play shooting games anymore.
No.
Age of the Cellbrite extraction
She was 39 years old.
report.
Yes.
And then is that how it generally looks in terms of?
I never played as a bard. I played as a magic user. Baal Dulimarius was my name. And when I played online, I was always a healer.
You can figure out the date, the time, who sent it, who received it, and the content of the text message?
Yes, it does.
I just installed Skyrim a couple of months ago. Yeah, it's
Somebody put you on it? Detective Peters, the jury will obviously have the benefit of this in the deliberation room to look at it up close.
Yeah, sometimes you
But
can't
if you
like
could
it. It's
please-
weird.
Actually, before I get to that, mirroring that text message, were you able to get a screenshot? Actually, if I may approach this, Your Honor. Thank you. And I'm going to show what's also part of the composite 188 so the jury can see, and then you'll be able to explain it further. If you could please, Detective Peters, explain to the jury those 3 screenshots. What are those pictures of?
These screenshots are photographs of conversation between Catherine and Collin.
And at the top of the screen, what's the picture and name?
The picture is of Catherine Griffith, and underneath it says Mom.
And whose phone did that come off of?
Collin Griffith's phone.
And how did you actually obtain a picture like that?
These photographs were copied in a screenshot format that was in the photographs.
So you were able to get screenshots of the defendant's phone conversation with his mom, is that correct?
Yes.
And is that the text, the full text conversation regarding another one of the motives the defendant had?
Yes.
All right. If you could please read the full context of the text message.
You want me to read this one or this upright?
I have played every type of video game. I played everything from what's it called? Let's Dance or whatever it's called, to Rockstar, shooters, driving sims, managing games. I played everything. I like to play. I played a lot of Call of Duty when I was in the military. Didn't make me go cray-cray. Well, it did, but not that cray-cray. Hey, Brad, how you doing? That's why I play slower-paced shooting games like Hunter, Call of the Wild. It's just I don't like that you have to pay for everything.
The one in your right hand is the full one.
Okay.
Have you
But
ever
before
built
you get there,
the
can you tell the
Jurassic
jury,
Okay.
according to the Cellbrite report, is that sent by the mom to her son, the defendant?
Yes.
And a time that it was sent and/or typed?
Yes.
What's the time?
The time is 12:02 p.m.
And that would be on Sunday, September
Correct.
8th?
September 8th, 2024.
And then on the cell phone, what does it say? The time?
12:29.
All right. So at or between 12:02 and 12:29, the message is sent, typed, received. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. If you could go ahead and read the full content of the text message.
Okay. Begins, the car isn't there. Not sure what you did, but it's being sold as we speak to CarMax for $15,600. Unless you'd like to reply to my text and tell me you're driving home right now. Period. Didn't think so. It's a felony to drive a stolen car without insurance. And if you wreck it, that's it. How much are you going to lose before you stop, Collin? ? I feel like you were trying to make me like your dad by talking away privileges, but you violated your probation, violated the rules of the house, and now you won't answer me. My mom or the cops, you've left me with no choice. Collin, the recordings of you admitting to killing Blank and planning the murder, there are 4 different instances from my Ring camera, are all going to Bob, Susie, Amanda, and Chris at 3 p.m. today. Plus the recovered audio from Blank's iCloud where you told your Blank you hated me and I was an evil bitch are being sent to. My dad is sending his recordings of you telling him how you planned my murder back in February. Audio, video, email, text, and phone recordings are being sent. For the record, no, you cannot have a single one. Your attorney can request them. Good luck hiring a good one. And this goes into the next screenshot. Because the 751 clearly states I have to be medically incapable of caring for you, and I'm not. You can keep hiding and running away from me. It is illegal for your grandmother to allow you to stay at an empty house 3 hours away when she was in Summerlin Key, which was on speaker and recorded as saying, I almost had an Amber Alert issued until she admitted after midnight you were in Auburndale, which is why I agreed to give you until 10 a.m. to cool down and come home, but I made it very clear you didn't come home. I legally don't have a choice but to report you as a runaway. Mama complained about you in February. You threatened her in February, but all of a sudden you go back to her and she takes you in, and I'm supposed to just let her steal you when I'm legally responsible and now in trouble for not reporting you as a runaway last night and waiting until this morning. That's not how this works.
Liar.
I'm giving the police your number, Mama's number, and DCF's all numbers now.
Why?
All 3 addresses. Also, Freddie is not registered in Polk County. And this goes over to the 3rd screenshot, and I have to go down to where it begins.
Why?
So Freddie is not registered in Polk.
I'm eating a Reese's peanut butter.
No, but like, gosh dang. Like, you clearly know that you guys got in a dispute and things were happening and he's trying to get away from you and you just won't let it go. He's not a small child. He can take care of himself. Just let him cool down and stay at his grandma's house for a little bit. You cool down too, lady. You need to calm it down.
County with a dog tag, that's a fine, and Mama owes taxes on her other trailer she sold in the same neighborhood. Her HOA doesn't like you or her. The police are going to bring you home, or DCFs will take you and eventually bring you home. Either way, you fucked up and list your chance to get off probation by October 5th, 2024. All because you didn't want to help me mount a bookshelf that took under 30 minutes. Weed eat the backyard and clean your room because bugs were in the candy that you had all over. Remember, you chose this. You have 10 minutes to call me and fix this, Collin. I'm signing this title and handing over the keys now.
He's threatening to take away his car. Like, these are things too. Like, they're kind of big things.
She claimed, I'm selling your car right now on CarMax if you don't reply. So she's selling a car, but if he replies, she will then not sell it.
Yeah. Well, it's all scare tactics.
I have Jamie, I haven't always been this fat recluse I am now. Once in the day, I did pull a lady or two. And I have had girlfriends like this. Where are you? Why aren't you here? Oh, so you're out banging some skank? Why don't you answer your phone? I'm calling you. I'm going to trash your PC if you're not home in an hour. I told you, and then you called and said, hey, I had to work extra today. Can you calm down? Oh, I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, this case started one way and we thought, oh my effing God, unlike both his mom and dad. And now kind of saying, yeah, well, it's not right, but.
No, you know, unaliving somebody is not right. But now it's like, well, what were the circumstances? Clearly, we saw her at a freaking 20 and she was ready to throw hands. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, Detective Peters, that was roughly around 12 and 12:30 in the afternoon, correct?
Correct.
And Kathy would end up dead with a 911 call around 6:14 that same day, correct?
Yes.
So roughly around 6 hours later. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I want to focus for a minute on the main part of that text. Collin, the recordings of you admitting to killing, he said blank,
Blank.
did you? Right, but
That's
she mentions the name, correct?
Correct.
And planning the murder, there are 4 different instances from my Ring camera are all going to Bob, Susie, Amanda, and Chris at 3 p.m. today.
Did you find it on the Ring camera?
So is she threatening him to expose him for him admitting to her that the killing previously was actually a planned murder?
That's what the text message indicates, yes.
Well, where are they? Let's see it.
And then when she also
She certainly
planning on
manipulated and lied a lot.
recordings of the defendant calling her an evil bitch.
Amy, if you don't pay me all that money you promised me, I'm going to send it to the police so they can sue you for, I don't know what it is, but I clearly have all the evidence and I'm going to send it to the police, or you can just wire transfer the money to me now.
Yeah, okay. Never in my life.
Yes.
I'll pay you.
Was she also threatening that her dad would be sending his recordings of the defendant telling him, that the dad, meaning the grandpa, that the defendant planned his mom's murder back in February?
Yes.
Why didn't they play it? Did they play that with the granddad on the stand? No.
Now, was it clear from your review of everything that on the September 7th, or more so on the September 8th date, I guess, but that the defendant was having much more contact, like speaking to his grandma, than with his mom?
Yes.
And was Kathy hopeful that her mom would like pass on information that Kathy wanted Collin to know?
Yes.
With the hope of what was Kathy's hope stated over and over? What was she trying to accomplish?
Kathy's hope? Let's hear it.
Did Kathy say on multiple occasions that she wanted or demanded that Collin return home by 10 a.m. on Sunday?
Yes.
But why?
Did she make any threats whatsoever of physical violence to the defendant in any of the text messages or phone calls?
No.
She said he better run.
Yeah.
Did she make a bunch of threats that doesn't appear she followed through on, such as canceling his phone service or shutting it down?
If I talk over the stream, you might have problems hearing me because it'll F it up.
Yeah.
So back. Well, good to see you back, Aussie. With 64% sway share. Someone took a little power nap.
Mm-hmm. I know. I want the grandma already. Come on. Let's hear from her.
Jamie wants the grandma.
Yeah, she made threats to close it down permanently, but it was on and off sporadically.
Did she make threats to cancel his car insurance?
Yes.
Did she make threats to sell his car?
Yes.
Did she make threats at some point to like take him out of school or disenroll him?
Yes.
He was in like college classes or something like that.
Now, turning to State 196, did she also send a similar text message to Susan to the person and planning the murder from the year prior?
Yeah, she wasn't getting the response from the defendant, so she texted the same text message, just advising her to tell him the same text that I read.
And I'm going to approach with State Exhibit 196.
I want to hear those messages.
Before I do
want
that,
to see it.
We'll stay just to be able to show the jury visually what it looks like. The cover page is at the Cellbrite report, where basically it goes in chronological order: date, time, who sent the message, who received the message, and the content of the message.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
let's
just
see the
put in,
messages.
exclamation point, Swaysha.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tim is really trying to. He's really trying today. He's told me
Yeah.
to calm down like 4 times already.
Yeah, maybe you should calm down.
Oh.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
don't be jealous of my members chat. I don't know who could be. That could be for.
And of course, this exhibit I reference is the text messages on September 8th between Kathy and Susan. Is that correct?
Correct.
So as the day progresses, I'm going to direct your attention specifically to page 25 for purposes of the record. So correct me if I'm wrong, but if you could look at page 1 first, does that appear that text message conversation begins at roughly 3:50 a.m. on early Sunday morning, September 8th?
Yes, it does.
And continues obviously throughout the day. Look at page 25, which I also
Separated.
handed to.
Yes.
What time on Sunday, September 8th, is that text message sent?
This text message is sent at 3:49 p.m.
So that would be roughly three or more hours after Kathy sent the text message that she would expose the defendant for the murder the year previously. The message that she sent the defendant.
Yes.
Now, if you could please read to the jury, what is it that Kathy texts her mom that pertains to that the motive text?
And glasses now. It says, "Tell Collin the recordings of him admitting to killing blank and planning the murder. There are 4 from my Ring camera and are all going to Bob, Susie, Amanda, and Chris at 3 p.m. today. Period. Plus the recorded audio from Blank's iCloud account, where Collin told his dad he hated me and I was an evil bitch, are being sent to. Dad is sending me his recordings of Collin telling him how he planned my murder back in February. Audio, video, email, text, and phone records are all being sent. For the record, no, you cannot have a single one. Your attorney can request them. So can Collin's. Good luck hiring one, because the 751 clearly states I have to be medically incapable of caring for Collin, and I'm not. You can't keep him from me. You can't hide him. He can't allow him to stay at an empty house 3 hours away when he blew up my microwave. You complained about him. He threatened you in February.
He's mad.
All of a sudden, you take him in, and I'm supposed to just let you steal my son."
He can't be at his grandma's house 3 hours away because he blew up my microwave.
Yeah, don't blow up her microwave.
You know, why is she? And you know what? Listen, like to even go there because you're mad. Be like, I'm taking all this evidence because I'm taking it to the cops, and all these other people are going to get it too because you're like, if this was stuff you knew already, you're just hanging on to it to this point in time when you want to just be like, fine, you're not going to listen to me. Here, I'm just going to put you on blast for everybody.
Only do blue chats so Baker's footballs don't get lonely.
Like, what a child. she is herself.
Yeah, yeah, and again, and just 751 recognize that many minor children in this state live with or and are well cared for by members of their extended family. The parents of these children have often provided for their care by placing them temporarily with another family member who is better able to care for them. Because of the care being provided the children by the extended family, they are not dependent children. So it's probably a 75102 temporary or concurrent custody proceeding. Could it be that?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, exactly, Rage. Like, it's showing her character. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just.
Yeah. This is state witness. State witness. Remember that. Any extended family who has the signed notarized consent of the child's legal parent, or any extended family member who is caring full time for the child in the role of a substitute parent, or with whom the child is presently living. So it is an agreement of shared custody of sorts that they had. He blew up the microwave. Yeah. Let you steal my son. Again, she has 4 videos of him. The question, if he doesn't answer that, then they don't show it because they haven't shown that video yet. Must be for the defense to come up and say, can you show us the 4 videos she allegedly had on her Ring camera? Did you find those? And yeah, she withhold evidence. Oh, this lady.
That's not how this works. Have your attorney call Eric Reyes on Monday so they can coordinate. I know you won't return Collin, and I know he is hiding because the car is not there at your house. I'm giving the police your number and DCF's your number now. They also have all 3 addresses. Also, your dog Freddie is not registered in Polk County with a dog tag. That's a fine. And you owe taxes on your...
And now she's threatening her mom, spilling the beans on the dog. Jamie instantly want to go back and unalive her herself. You don't threaten a dog.
The trailer you sold in the same neighborhood, and HOA doesn't like you.
So is it a fair statement that Kathy told both the defendant and Kathy told her mom that she was aware of the way Collin had told Mr. Wantis he was going to murder her?
Yes.
So that wasn't just known by Robert Wantis, but Kathy knew that, correct?
Again, we have no proof other than the granddad who said, yeah, she told me that. Who didn't go to the police till after. Not a good day for Peter today.
Is one of the last things that was heard on the Ring.
You ship it to Pennsylvania and Marissa will take care of it.
Footage that Kathy was giving the defendant two options: either get in the car with her, or 3 options: get in the car with her, follow her in his own car, or she would call the police.
Objection, Judge. I think that's a mischaracterization. That was between her and Susan.
Do you recall similar text message things about that?
Yes.
Now, I mentioned earlier about some of the photographs that would be attached to certain text messages that would be sent between Kathy and her mom, and Kathy and the defendant, going back to 188 to publish some of those photographs. Do you recall from yesterday, Detective Peters, the chores that the mom was unhappy with Collin not doing?
Yes.
Did Kathy end up doing the chores herself?
Yes, she did.
And did she send text messages to her son where she showed him how easy it was for her to complete the chores?
Yes, with photographs of the areas that she cleaned.
And it's now publishing for the jury's benefit from 188. Is that I don't know if it's a video or a screenshot of a video, but from the living room of her working?
Yes, that's a screenshot from the Ring camera in the living room.
That would have been on Saturday, 3:37, is that correct?
Yes.
After the defendant already left the house?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what Kathy's doing in her backyard there.
That's the backyard of their residence, and she appears to be rolling up some extension cord connected to what I would say is a weed eater.
And what day, time on Saturday, September 7th, did she do that?
6:20.
Yeah, remember yesterday we heard text that she was mad he didn't want to do chores and he should come back and do chores. Now, because she's Petty McPet, she went around and took pictures of everything that she did, so she did his chores. This is the most passive aggressive woman I've ever heard about. And I have been married.
PM.
What can you tell us about that?
What?
That's a ring camera connected to the front of the residence. Here she's taking out garbage.
What time on Saturday?
4:47 p.m.
What can you tell us about the time and what she's doing in that photograph, if you can tell?
Appears that she's cleaning like was observed in the video yesterday, and that's at 3:37 p.m. from the living room camera.
And then a photo. What was in that? What subject matter was that in reference to?
That's the call log in reference to her attempting to contact Collin.
Now, of course, there's many pages of text messages. Does the subject matter stay pretty consistent between Kathy and Collin?
It does.
Now, finishing up the Cellbrite report, going to 196, some of the photographs, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the attachments, photographs of a certain one. What can you tell us about that, Detective Peters?
It appears to be a screenshot of a conversation between.
I don't think she worked. She used to be a teacher, but I don't think she worked. I guess I'm thinking more about reprimanding a dog. How do you reprimand a dog? They only speak Spanish. You'll have to ask Iris, but I think it's something like this. That's how Iris reprimand her kids. All right, I'll start. Ding dong, the merry o, sing it high, sing it low. Ding dong, the wicked witches.
Ooh.
Thank you,
Catherine and Collin.
And help explain at the top of the screen, what does it say and whose phone would this be?
That's it says Collin.Griffith@iCloud.com. That'd be Collin's phone.
And read to the jury, if you would, what the conversation between Kathy and her son was.
It says, Mom, I believe coming from Collin. She says, Collin, what's going on? He says, you told me to leave. She says, I told you to leave because you were scaring me. You hurt me, Collin. And he writes, I'm not doing this with you. And then a continuing text message says, Collin, you need to stop before this gets way worse. If you don't come home soon, you're going to face charges, serious ones. Just stop. This same thing a year later. Why? You just have to stop, Collin.
So again, she threatened him if he didn't comply.
Now this one, there's a little different icon at the top. Can you tell the jury what that is?
That's an icon of the defendant with his name underneath of it as a contact.
And what does this message say?
From where it starts is, you want to throw your, and I'm assuming that says life away like this and hurt me. I'll let everyone see you for who you are. All the comments and admissions made on Ring camera. You chose Collin now, or you choose Collin now. Respond that you will be home by 10 a.m. today. That's in 2.5 hours. Or don't respond and go back to court. You choose as always. And that's the last read you get at 7:28 a.m. Remember that you chose not to respond and instead just read the text.
Another photo, screenshots.
Screenshots appears to be a photograph, maybe of some court documents. And then the bottom says, you do not have my permission and you did not call Monique yesterday and notify her. You would be going, and it doesn't matter because you have to have my permission to, which you don't, and you've read my messages and called me and still refused to come home. Probation violations out the ass. You have until 10 a.m. That's it.
Then what is
So she's constantly threatening him. Constantly.
that?
That is the phone log.
And again,
There
no
appears to be
evidence
a screenshot of a
what she
voicemail.
claims she had evidence of. We better see
Yeah.
that.
And was the subject matter between Kathy sent to Susan, was it largely revolving around Kathy trying to get Collin to come back home?
Yes.
Did Kathy make any threats to Susan in the text message that she was going to do physical harm to Collin?
No.
If I have a brief moment, Sean.
Isn't there something called psychological violence as well?
I mean, You can be very abusive psychologically.
I don't have any further questions right now, Your Honor.
Thoughts?
Judge, can we take our mid-afternoon break? First, thanks.
All right, folks, we'll take 15 minutes. Please leave your notepads and chairs.
All right, please.
Yeah, I forgot. I was like, oh man, now we can zoom through it.
Yeah, we can zoom right through it. I had a boyfriend like this. He said if I don't come over, that I didn't love him. When I got over there, he gave me the silent treatment. Yeah, and they will then the next day they will tell you why were you like that yesterday? What? I came over when you asked me. Yeah, you didn't say anything. I was trying to have a nice night with you, and you were just silent. No, you were silent. You were just sitting there. No, it was you. It's that constant blaming you. And it's so mentally exhausting being in a state of that because you can never do right. If he had done
Yeah.
the chores, she would be angry he didn't do the chores the right way. If he had done everything perfect like she wanted, he didn't do it fast enough. That's stupid. Hey, Pottelmeister.
Hey, Puddletown.
So where are the videos she had of him admitting to all those things? I don't
I
know.
guess we're not going to see him.
Yeah, it's not gonna. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and the problem is they will tell you it's your fault and you will start believing them. It's abuse. And this kid did everything he could to get out of this abuse. And
Yeah, that's the reason he was gone all this time is because she told him to leave and he left and he said, I don't want to do this with you. And she's just calling from 7 a.m. till whenever, threatening everything. I'm taking your car away. I'm going to call the cops on you. I'm going to, like, my goodness.
yeah, and it's constantly this. Whenever he says, "Let's not," I actually with my ex-wife, I had that thing where I jumped on it every time she called. I started a fight with her, and then one day my mom said to me, "said Why are you always doing it?" I said, "What? You allow her to get you mad." I said, "Yeah, but she's so annoying." And she said, "What about next time you just hang up and call her back 2 hours later?" I said, "Well, she's gonna kill me." I said, "Well, she can't do anything anyway." The next time I hung up, called her back 2 hours later, said, "Well, my phone lost signal." First couple of times she started yelling and my phone went out of signal again. And since then we could kind of talk together in a normal way.
Yeah.
Because she found out I'm not going to let you get us into an argument because we're working together about the kids. It's not about what hoe bag I slept with in your dreams yesterday.
It's always a great fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, to see her true colors come out. I mean, the state would have done a lot better if they could they went middle ground with it.
Yeah.
Like
Pottle,
she was
I hope you're
intense,
doing.
but you know.
I'm just Jamie Pottle. I hope you're doing well. He's in the emergency room
Why? What happened? Are you okay?
because you were yelling at him when I tried to comfort
Oh,
him.
stop it.
Really
Wasn't my
tough,
fault.
Jamie.
Well,
Suspected
I hope
heart
you're
attack
doing better. What?
related
Aw.
to enlarged heart and heart failure. Heart failure means it just pumps weird. Are you doing roids and insulin? You can tell us. This is a circle of trust. Are you in West Virginia? Pottletown, If you want to talk, Jamie has phone hours. And you can tell her.
And 4 and 401.
Yeah, 441.
No, I hope you're doing, I hope everything gets figured out, Puddletown.
Yeah.
And you feel better.
And can you get like a defibrillator or something in there so that it can shock your heart back to normal? Oh, so you're from Kansas. But thank you for stopping in and checking out. It's nice that you think of us in that situation. We'll think of you as well,
Yeah.
except Jamie, because
Hey.
heart failure means heart failure. Brendan, when you're right, you're right.
Please be seated.
Storm across.
Yes, thank you. Detective Peters, I wanted to flesh out
I
some
was
of the things that you mentioned under direct testimony. And that was included in the ring videos and the text messages.
Okay.
In the ring video from September 8th, where Kathy is talking about, and you know what he's doing at your house? This is with Susan. He's playing video games where he's murdering and torturing people. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And her conversation implied that she sent some screenshots of that video game to Susan to prove her point.
Yes.
Right? And you've looked through the phone downloads?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to approach and show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 1 and Defense Exhibit 2 and see if you recognize them.
Yes.
Okay. And do those appear to be the screenshots that accompany the text regarding the video games that Collin was playing?
Yes.
Judge, I believe this is Defense Exhibit 1 and 2.
Any objection despite it's your case right now?
Oh, well,
No, Judge, that's not.
I should have asked about doing things out of order.
They are received.
So this is Defense Exhibit 1. Take a look. And do you know anything about this video game that's shown in the screenshot?
I do.
It's a Roblox game, correct?
Correct.
Rated for kids, like as young
All
as
ages,
10,
up,
all
up to
ages.
adults play it.
Right, but it's not limited to say adults only because of its violent nature. Or anything.
Correct.
And I'll show what's been admitted as Defense Exhibit 2. Same video game,
Yes.
so not quite as Kathy described it.
Yes.
I'm going to jump around a little bit. Going back to the house at 77 Hewlett Drive. You said that it did not appear that there had been a long, drawn-out fight throughout the house, correct? But by the same token, if someone is being dragged throughout a house by their hair, wouldn't you expect they would be struggling against that?
Would I expect there to be struggling? Yes.
Unless they were going willingly with the person in
Sure.
throughout the house.
That's the other option, yes.
Right. So if somebody is being dragged unwillingly, and they are struggling, so let's assume that too,
Mhm.
you would expect items in the house to be disturbed.
Possibly.
The blood that was on the backpack that Kathy was seen wearing as she's leaving her house on September 8th. I want to talk a little bit about that. You do know that Collin's phone was found in his car,
Yes.
right? And the 911 call came from Kathy's phone, right?
Yes.
And that means that Collin had to use Kathy's phone to call 911
Yes.
because he was the caller.
Correct.
And it's possible that Kathy's phone was in her backpack, and that Collin had to go into the backpack to find the phone to be able to make the phone call to 911.
It's possible.
The ring cameras, you said that there were cameras in the 5 different cameras, one an outdoor, one on the doorbell area.
Yes.
Right? Then one in the living room.
Correct.
One in the kitchen.
Correct.
And then one in each of Collin and Kathy's bedrooms.
Yes.
And the ring videos we've seen are from the kitchen ring video.
Yes.
Camera, rather. All right, so before we get to more about those ring videos, you could hear Kathy tell Collin to get out and not come home, correct, on September 7th?
Yes.
And she told him not to come back even if he was bawling his eyes out, right?
Yes.
And she made him or told him to give her his house keys, right?
Give her keys.
Give her the house keys
Yes.
and leave them there.
Yes.
And then from the living room video camera, you can actually see her locking the door behind Collin after he goes outside, correct?
Yes.
So he would not have been able to get back in that locked door.
Unless there's another key outside that I'm not aware of.
The living room video, the living room camera actually faces towards the kitchen. So it's almost the same view, but from the opposite direction.
Right.
Okay. There was a point where Kathy was waving her hand in front of, it looked like the TV, but it would also have been in front of the ring camera.
Yes.
Right before she says, and it's all being recorded on my ring video.
Yes.
Okay. So she clearly knows how to make sure that some things are captured on that ring camera.
Yes.
Now, the clips that were shown to the jury both yesterday and today, those aren't everything that happened from September 7th and September 8th, are they?
No.
I'll get to those in a minute. I'm sorry, I'm not being very organized here, but before I get to those ring videos,
Oh,
I want
Brandon.
to talk a little bit about the text messages. Okay, so this is sort of a different version of the text messages between Kathy and Collin. It's been marked as Defense Exhibit 3. I'm going to approach and see if you recognize it. It's just in a little bit more readable form.
Yes, I recognize this. Yes.
And even though it's not my case, I'd like to admit into evidence under Exhibit 3.
Any objection?
No objection.
It is received.
All right. I'm going to talk about some of the things that Kathy told to Collin over text message.
That's not a good shot.
Okay, so can you see it on your monitor as well?
I can.
Okay,
It's
so
easier to read on this one.
on the bottom one from September 7th at 7:01 p.m., she talks about wanting him to return the cell phone.
Paul Town, you got to work on that Swasia.
Yeah.
And the MacBook that were purchased for his education. Then she said you don't have permission to be at work, which is a probation violation because you refused to do your chores for the day. Are you aware of any probation condition that required him to not be at work?
No.
Okay, so obviously not an accurate statement, right? Then she says you violated your probation by having physical contact with me. It implies that that happened right before he left, but there was no physical contact that you saw in any Ring video that you've reviewed, right?
No.
I'm in fear for my safety and the safety of the vehicle which you took in, which is in my name. I am canceling the car insurance policy until you are 18. You may not drive the Jetta as long as my name is on the title insurance. So right there, she's telling him it's illegal for him to drive his car, right?
Right.
But then she turns around and says, drive home right now or you're going to be in trouble.
Yes.
Do you know if she ever did cancel his insurance?
I do not have proof that she canceled his insurance. No.
Did you know anything about the title to the car, whose name it was in, anything like that?
I believe it was in Mom's name, and I think Colin's name was on it as well.
So both people's.
Yes.
You are being withdrawn from college as you have shown yourself to be capable of to be capable of taking care of chores around the house, and then she lists them. So she was going to prevent him from continuing his college education over chores. At least that's what she claimed.
It appears that way in text.
Yeah, she's really logical.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it on that one.
Yeah,
Here
that means
says
all of it
that
was
it's
BS.
8:28. I'm reporting the Jetta stolen. You can't drive the car without insurance and without parental consent. Do you know if she ever reported the Jetta stolen?
I don't have proof of that, no.
And was it even stolen?
No.
Because his name's on the title.
Yes.
And then she talks about communicating with Detective Lacey. You're aware that he had been communicating with Detective Lacey Zanoniani and that she encouraged him to stay at Susan's house.
Yes, through text message.
And Kathy actually talked with Detective Lacey by phone on the 8th.
So the police said he should stay at the house when the mom was going cray-cray.
Like stay at the grandma's house? The grandma's house?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the mom kept threatening him with Detective Lacey. I talked to her, you're in violation of probation. You put in exclamation point Swasia, and Nightbot would give you a Swasia.
Before she went to Auburndale, right?
Yes.
And Detective Zanoniani told her to stay home. You don't need to go up there. Let Collin stay with Susan.
I don't know if it's those exact words, but something of that context, yes.
Yeah.
Then right here, Kathy is threatening to close his Bank of America account so he doesn't have access to save money to put gas in his car, right?
Well, I don't know the reason, but it is saying I'm closing your bank account since it's tied to my name.
Pretty good one, Wallaby.
The top message talks about how Collin's probation paperwork says he cannot leave the county without her unless it's for school. There was a screenshot of the pink paper that we talked about that specifically says he can leave the county to visit his grandmother, Susan Detman, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware of the 751 plan that existed between Susan and Kathy where each could have custody of him and it would be perfectly legal?
Yes, I'm aware of it.
I'm going to approach and show you what's been marked
there you
as
go.
Defense Exhibit 6,
Yeah.
7,
Why didn't you bring that up, Mr. Prosecutor?
8, and 9.
That was perfectly okay for him to be there. And the mom was lying.
Not a lot of Swasia for a Friday.
So this would be the 751. This is the first time I'm seeing it, but I'm aware of it. Yes, ma'am.
Judge would like to admit into evidence as it was mentioned. It's the signed paperwork filed with the Charlotte County Clerk of Court, so I think you could take judicial notice of them as well.
Any objection?
No objection.
They are received.
Okay, I'm going to publish them then. So the first document is a co-petition to establish temporary custody of minor children by extended family. And you would agree that it was signed and notarized by several people, right?
Yes,
Including Catherine Griffith and Susan Detman.
correct.
The next document is entitled Agreement and Consent to a Petition under 751. Also signed by Catherine Griffith and Susan Detman, along with attorney Jeffrey Ratkin.
Yes,
And that was Defense Exhibit 7. Defense Exhibit 9 is the acknowledgement of service of these documents signed by Catherine Griffith.
yes,
Okay, and that was December 10th of 2023.
yes,
And then the final document, which is Defense Exhibit 8, so out of order. It's an order granting the joint petition. Signed by Judge Mary Evans on, what does it say? What was filed. I thought it said it on here.
I think it's under the signature.
Okay. It is. I can't read it.
January something of 2024, I believe.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. January of 2024. Okay, suffice it to say that everybody was on board with both Susan and Kathy being able to make decisions for Collin and have custody of him.
It appears so, yes.
Oh, yes, the pink paper with the permission to be out of county to visit the grandmother. It says that we'll notify Monique. You're aware that Collin did in fact notify his probation officer by email
Yes,
that he was going to Susan's.
yes.
And it was a weekend, so she wouldn't have answered the phone at her
There
office.
wasn't a response.
So he told his PO too.
And then Kathy says that she's going to call the police and send them. She had never called the police that you know of to send them to pick Collin up.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Then there's some texts about selling his car, and it's right here. Is that where it was? Okay, here we go, second one, where she claims she had gone up to Auburndale, tried to get into the community. The gates wouldn't let her in. She's at the dealership in Lakeland. All this elaborate explanation of how she's going to get rid of his car, but none of that was true either, was it?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Well, we see her on Ring Video at
Correct.
all hours up until mid to late afternoon on the 8th,
Right,
right?
that was at 10:54 a.m.
Here she talks about Epic Towing. So she even comes up with the name of a tow company that's going to go pick up the car and a specific amount of time within which they'll be there. That wasn't true either, was it?
I don't have proof that she called a towing company, no.
Or that a towing company showed up
No,
in Auburndale.
I don't have proof of that, no.
So suffice it to say, a lot of the things that Kathy claimed were just simply untrue.
Correct, yeah.
Are you aware of some texts between Kathy and Collin in late August of 2024 where she tells him that she's feeling down again and is maybe going to go into a facility for a while?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to approach and show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibits 4 and 5.
Yes, I'm aware of that, yes. Yes,
And they appear to be the text from Kathy to Collin.
yes, it does.
I'd like to admit to evidence Defense Exhibit 4 and 5.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
They are received.
I'll wish them real quickly. So down here on 7/24, no, that's not the one. Oh, that was the one. So it wasn't a week or so before. It was over a month before. But she's telling her son, just so you know, I'm not doing so good. I just had a long conversation with my mom, and she was basically my mom. She told me that she has stage 3 cancer. She's in Georgia, and she's not going to help me with DVC. Do you know what DVC is? It's a Disney Vacation Club.
Oh, I know what that is, but I didn't know the abbreviation for it.
And that she could care less. And so in response, I got really upset and quit my job. And sorry, so this was not related to her mental health. It was about her quitting her job. Are you aware that she actually quit her job or did not quit her job?
I'm not aware. I don't have proof she quit her job.
My mom has stage 3 cancer. She doesn't want to help me with Disney Vacation Club, so I quit my job.
What? Who said that to who?
The mother said that to Collin.
Oh. Oh god. Yeah.
Susan had stage 3 cancer, so she didn't want to help her with the Disney Vacation Club. So F her, get out of here. Yeah, makes sense to me. Nah, well, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
What a change this day have made in this case, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then also on July 24th, Kathy talks about how she sold the house and that this story about how somebody's assumed the mortgage and she was going to move out. Any proof that any of that was true?
No, ma'am.
And on Defense Exhibit 5, she says that she spoke with Dr. Goldstein today, and Dr. Goldstein wanted Kathy to go to an inpatient facility for some time, and that she was thinking about doing that. So that's what we were talking about Kathy communicating
Getting a beer.
her mental health issues with her son.
Intensive therapy, it says, yes.
But inpatient for 72 hours or so.
Yes.
The ring videos that were played, you already said they didn't include everything that happened that day. There are actually some parts that I wanted to see if you remember seeing. One is from September 7th, where Kathy is trying to get a lid off a cup. Do you remember that part?
Vaguely.
And she then starts yelling at Collin and blaming him for cutting her hand.
Vaguely.
Okay.
I'd have to see it again.
Okay, well, that's what I'm hoping to do. This is Defense Exhibit 10. Do you have any objection to it?
No, it's-
Did you publish this? Yes, I'm offering it as evidence. Defense Exhibit 10. It's a portion of the ring video from September 7th, 2024.
A video where she cut her own hand and then.
And I'm only going to play a portion of it because a lot of it duplicates what has already been shown.
The state has proven the mom was crazy. Up next, self-defense. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Hey, Mattia Braga. Yeah, but they are they're really doing good work for the defense today.
Okay, definitely my calendar. Wow, I can't even open it. Collin, don't ever close my cups that fucking tight. I can't even get the fucking lid off. I just cut my hand. Jesus Christ. I'm a full-blown sweat from trying to cut a fucking cup.
In that clip, does it appear that Kathy actually cut her hand?
Doesn't appear so.
So she's mad because she can't get the cups apart because he put them on too tight.
And then finally on
Yeah, and she cut
September
her
8th,
hand.
we saw a lot of clips of Kathy on the phone with a variety of people, right?
Yes.
Do you remember a portion that was left out of the exhibit that was already entered into evidence where Kathy says it's not about to be a threat, it's about to be real shortly before she leaves the house?
I think that was played. I think that was played from the kitchen. There's two areas that you can get that same audio from, the living room and the kitchen. I think that was played.
Okay, well, I'm going to play it again just in case.
Yes, ma'am.
But this is Defense Exhibit 11 from September 8th. I would like to offer it into evidence and just play a portion of it.
Any objection?
That's fine.
Just receive. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Yeah, Marissa, it was at the grandma's house and there was no video.
Yeah, if it wasn't that tight, she'll be screaming when she spilled it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, his self-defense at his dad is what they determined. They charged him and then they dropped the case. And now they're saying he went absolutely cray-cray and unalived his mom because his mom was about to spill the beans on him admitting to the dad's unaliving. Sadly, the state just played 3 hours of video showing that the mom lied constantly about everything. So
And she's screaming and yelling and
yeah, and nothing, and no evidence of her going having any of the evidence she claimed she had. So yeah.
yeah. It's a tough one.
Oh, I hope you got away and the police took him away. I'm sorry to hear that, Chrissy. And happy to see you back. Been a while. Probably a stupid Stanley Cup. You be careful now, Missy. Jamie has
Yeah.
forced me to buy Stanley Cups. Well, this is a
And
knockoff.
yeah, well, mine are knockoffs too, but they're amazing.
If you have to spend a week getting ahead of Bad Facts UK sucks. Yeah. This today has changed my mind a bit.
How he's better off at your house, where he's killing people, pretend and making fun of it, and kidnapping them, and having them tied to little chairs while he tortures them and kills them with other people in this things. I sent you the pictures.
It's 21:30. That's okay.
Oh.
That's good.
It's not about to be a prank, it's about to be real.
And I apologize if that had already been played.
Yeah, it was played on the other one.
Sounds good. I never had anything like that.
Detective Peters, when you were shown pictures of Kathy and Collin on various trips, you said that they appeared happy. In some of these clips and in some of the text messages that the jury's seen today, Kathy appears quite angry, correct?
Yeah, she appears frustrated. Yeah, angry.
Angry. And it was in that state that she left her house and went to Auburndale against advice from several people, right?
I don't know who the several people are, but she did leave at that time to go to Auburndale, yes.
And she was yelling on her way out the door.
Yes.
But you're aware that several people told her not to go to Susan's house and to let Collin stay there.
Detective Lacey, yes.
And Susan.
Susan.
Yeah. So at least two people.
Yes.
But she ignored them.
Yes.
She
I
said,
don't have any other questions. I don't think.
hold my beer.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna tell her, tell him to come back home.
Nothing else?
Redirect.
Nothing further.
The witness release.
Yes, sir.
This was the lead detective.
For today.
All right. If you're needed back, we'll get a call.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was really, really bad for the state. Really bad.
That will conclude the witnesses for today.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break for the weekend. Remember not to start to think about how you want to decide the case. Again, not talk about the case or anything else. Be careful with the news. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you Monday morning at 8:30.
All right, please.
Anything before the weekend recess?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir.
All right, everybody, enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Two.
No, this was a special cray woman, but she haven't had an easy life. She got pregnant when she was 13 years old, so probably not a good life. Yeah, and this is what this was a good closing by the defense. What are they going to think about over the weekend? And we know the state alluded they were probably going to end Monday. That the lead detective had to admit Collin was in his full rights to be at his grandma. Everyone told his mom not to go there, and she lied about everything. And if she could lie about that, And we know how angry she got. Why shouldn't she pick up a pew or a stabulator or a cast iron skillet or he had a knife because he was cooking dinner and she came at him and they fell over
Yeah, I don't know.
because
Very possible.
there was evidence that could allude to a fight on her body. So maybe
Yeah.
she attacked him. Yeah, it wasn't a good day. That doesn't mean she gets to traumatize her kids. No, I didn't say she did. She was 13 when she got pregnant the first time, and she was 19 when she had Collin. I know
Is
why
that
the
the
state
difference
did it
between her and
because
her
the
mother?
defense would have shown all of that in their case, but wow, it's hard to make the argument that things were not terribly wrong in the house. Yes.
Yeah, she's screaming at the top of her lungs like a crazy person and telling her mom she's an effing moron. And she's the one kicking him out, saying, "Get out of here." And then he goes to his grandma's house and it's like, "Well, get back here. What are you doing? I'm going to sell all your stuff. I'm going to take your car from you. I'm going to call the cops on you. I'm going to get you arrested again. You can't be there." Like, she's doing all the things. And
Yeah,
then
that's
basically her wait and see. Like, and I'm coming over there right now. Oof.
and again, you're not allowed to go there. You're breaking this. I'm calling your job. I'm taking you out of school. I'm taking your car. I'm taking your phone. I'm taking your computer. I'm getting you sent to prison. I'm going to show all of this evidence that they never ever found, and they went through the ring system. There's no evidence of what they claim was. They just lost the entire motive because the motive was she was going to turn over 4 videos that he didn't want turned over, and there's no proof of that. No proof at all.
They didn't show anything.
Where was the mom unalived at? Grandma's house in a elderly retirement thing, but Granny was in Keys 6 hours away, so no. Yeah. Where's the first child? We don't know. We haven't heard anything about the first child. Yeah, this one was manipulation more than just like Iris throwing a chancla at her kids. No,
Well,
Grandma
especially
wasn't
when
home.
she made the claim about the money, because if it was his money and his trust, I'm going to sell your car because I need the money. So
Yeah.
just here I come.
And again, everything was, I'm gonna do bad stuff to you.
Yeah.
So constant fear.
And then
Well,
calling his job up. And
it's
being
Friday,
like,
Jamie, so I'll have my weekly peevel.
yeah. Nope. Doing it already, huh?
I'm not thinking Brandon is gonna join me. Did the morning shift, so I did the night shift.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I don't know. It was just, that was insane. Like, she was making me mad.
yeah, I'm on my own. I knew that. That's why I didn't procrastinate today. I just got it in. This trial drove Breaker to drink. Yeah, it's Friday. I drink every Friday. I'm behind, but that's a great point. Her house was pristine except for some earbuds. Oh, the grandma's house. Yeah, there was nothing at the crime scene other than the deceased body. And I know they found an earbud outside, but no one can confirm he dragged her into the house, as they said. He either had her by the neck or by the shoulder, is what the old biddies said.
The old biddies. I
But they
forgot.
didn't want to call the popo.
Yeah. Well, and they claimed that she was very aggressive when she rolled up in the driveway.
Waving her arms, jumping into the car, riding it out on the road with the tires screeching, or came in the car and tires screeching into the driveway, something like that.
And now we have the whole context of like her doing that, but then how she was acting before.
Yeah.
Ooh. Now you hear her screaming at the top of her lungs for what? It was like all day, wasn't it? She said she started calling him at like 7 a.m.
I think this first call was 6:50 something.
Man, man, oh man.
That's
Like, should have just left him alone.
yeah.
I mean, obviously it was a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. If they both
Thank
weren't
you,
getting any
Lefty.
help.
It's a gift from Jemima. Julie would be voting guilty. Wouldn't be voting guilty. Oh, I need to read. So yeah, Marcia, yeah, you've been in and out a bit this week, but this has been a crazy case. I went into it and thought he unalived both his parents within a year. Crazy MFer. And then we heard him talk on video. He's super calm. He's always begging the cops not to put him back with his mom. And then we heard 2 hours of her yelling at everyone. So yeah, it's still the state's case.
Yeah.
The quick recap is today was a really bad day for the state, in my opinion. It showed she was mentally manipulative of Collin. She lied about everything. The police officer on cross was asked, she had made this claim, she made that claim, she made this claim, she made that claim. No evidence of any of it. So why should you believe there's any evidence of her evidence that Collin had said 4 times in the house that he did unalive his dad on purpose? And then you had the medical examiner. He didn't really put much in other than there could have been a fight. And then we had the police officer who went to the house earlier, where you can hear Collin clear as day on video, where she's, oh yeah, he put his hand on me yesterday, and he's just, I don't want to be here. Did you make some threats yesterday? No, I said, I don't know what's going to happen if you put me back in the house with her. He's cool, calm, and collected, and she's screaming all the time. It's kind of like me and Jamie's dynamics on the show. I'm always mellow, down to earth, never get my blood pressure up, and Jamie is just yelling and threatening me constantly.
I am the worst.
That's 23 and 24 is when they did it. He did it. Unhinged is the word. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good word.
But Jamie, it's 10:30. I'm gonna go to bed because I might, if I can get out of bed tomorrow, be joining Friday Night Live. And if I don't do that, I'll be joining you on Stabby Day tomorrow, where we will have the White Rabbit as a guest.
Yay!
So, so a year and a half between, but it's calendar year. Agree to disagree. We'll have the White Rabbit on tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, where we will be going wherever the wind blows us.
Yep.
And the rest of you go out, enjoy the rest of the Friday, join the expert later, and come to us in the morning. Don't be a Valhalla and be 2 hours late because you stay up all night hanging out with your cooler friends. Come hang out with us in the morning. Love y'all.
What
Bye.
exhibit are you referring to? I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor. All right, 100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't have cared.
You wouldn't have cared?
No.
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
No.
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
Probably did. Everybody has. Everybody has.